If you've ever thought about getting a Dell, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. Yes, Cam, we're back. We were back yesterday, and we missed you. We're going to make the most of it. It's Friday. We made it to Friday. Not a whole lot of news out there. Got some stories for you that I think are interesting here, but a big earnings beat for Dell, a big move for Dell. It's Friday. We're going to make the most of everything here today. We're going to have Mark Putrino on today. We're going to have 13 on today. We're going to have Anne-Marie on today. And we're going to have Sandy afterwards as well. I'm still rolling without a producer, so I'm doing it all. But I'm happy you folks are here because y'all are going to give me the energy to get this done. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Friday edition for May 29th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. It's great to see a whole bunch of returning faces, and I hope that you had a wonderful rest of your Thursday night. We're all lucky that San Antonio won because now we get a Game 7 in the NBA playoffs. We get it this weekend, and it's going to be a great weekend. Weather here in Chicago is about as perfect as it gets, and the Cubs are on a 2-game winning streak, and it's Friday, so you'll have to apologize the humongous grin from ear to ear that I have on my face. But it's great to see everybody. We've got some money to make before we get to all of the fun stuff on the weekend. Robert is first this morning. Good morning, Robert. It's great to see you again. I hope that you are well. Let me know if you've got anything on your watch list here today early. Would love to hear about that. Billy, good to see you again. Human chat scanner Billy, just out here getting it done. Billy, we missed you yesterday too. Glad to have you back here. Good morning. It's great to see you. Billy here going through a whole bunch of the movers. Snow and Dell, those are going to be some of the big ones, no doubt, here today. We can take a look at all of that stuff. We'll probably have some time for ticker time today outside of Mark. That would be my guess. Kelly, good morning. So thankful for you guys. Gosh, that is so nice to hear. Here in Chicago, it's only 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm already hearing nice things from people. That is how you start off the day, Kelly. I appreciate that. We work hard to try and put something on that is positive for the people that choose to join. Maybe you make more money. Maybe you learn something. Maybe you have some laughs. Maybe it eases your mind a little bit. That's what we're going for here. And this is a tough job. There's no reason this can't be fun. Buffalo by Bicycle, good morning. Welcome back. I now have to search for Benzinga. The algorithm is off from the break. Good morning. Okay, well, I was told yesterday I can't really have breaks, or I shouldn't. I was told that jokingly, of course. But this gives us a new task for today. I would like all of you to log into all of your accounts and smash that like button. And then I would like you to call your family members and tell them, even if they don't care about stocks, tell them to smash that like button. Let's play a little game here today, and not the one from Saw. Let's see if we can set a new record for likes on a Friday. And when the producer comes back, we'll be like, look what we did. Look what we did. And we'll put a smile on his face. Let's try that here, Buffalo. And maybe in doing all of this, we will help exploit the algorithm. We shall see. Zach McCracken, good morning, and good morning to the Benzie gang. I amplify your good morning to everyone else out there. It is great to see you again. Whis, good morning. Welcome back. It's great to see you as always, brother. Where are you playing this weekend? Anything fun? Yes, that girl. Good morning. Hey, let's go. It is Friday. We're going to have some fun. Good to see you again. Love the energy. Neville, good morning, my friend, and to you. Good morning as well. Great to have you back here. Derek, likewise, good morning. Welcome back. Cam, we back, buddy. We back. Zach McCracken, thanks for the reminder. We will ask Mark Putrino about Micron today. I think we asked Anne-Marie recently about Micron. Maybe we can ask her too. But we'll definitely ask Putrino for some levels there for you. Cam, you missed the official return. You did. You did. But that's okay because we kept the seat warm for you. And we're going to have a full week next week. So lock in, buddy. Richard Judge, good morning. Happy Friday to you. Keep that positive energy flowing, my man. I'll tell you what, every time I see Judge's smiling face, across my Twitter feed, I smile. And I'll be honest, Judge, I don't know how many accounts out there that I follow that just make me smile every time I see content from them. You're one of them. Keep it up. John says, how did you know it was my birthday? John, we know everything around here. I get asked about which stock is going to moon next. Sometimes I ask my 8-ball. We know everything around here. Happy birthday. I hope that you enjoy it. I'll tell you what, birthdays on a Friday, generally speaking, those are good times. I hope that you have a great one with your family. And cheers to another trip around the sun. Austin, good morning. Richard, Austin, good morning. It's great to see you again. Linda, likewise, good morning. Lion's here. And Lion, is Lion fired up? Lion says, GM, let's go. Let's print some green moolah for the weekend. Lion's fired up today. We've got a happy Lion today. Let's go. Your pride is here for you. Ed, Friday morning, let's get it for the weekend. Indeed. Good morning, brother. Welcome back. Lance, good morning. Welcome back. Bernhard, good morning. Welcome back. Liam, it's great to see you. Good morning. Welcome back. Dara, welcome back. Are you still hodling full port 800% gain stock that you refuse to take gains on? Hope all is well with you. Crankbait, good morning. It's great to see you again. Welcome back, buddy. I do love that name. I don't think I say it enough, but I love the name. The Noob. I could use some wins. I've got one for you to start the day off. I had Chipotle last night. Let's go. And it was actually really good. The Chipotle I go to, I know there's been a lot of complaints that Chipotle is not the same. I guess I'm fortunate because the Chipotle by me, the entire staff does a good job. They are all hard workers and they are varying ages. It doesn't matter what time I go in there. They're getting it done. They are getting it done. Astro Kev, good morning. TGIF, indeed. We're going to have some fun here today. Lion says he can't wait for the casino to open. I love it. Just passing through. Good morning. Welcome back. Durkus, good morning, Ryan, and everyone. Hope you had a wonderful vacation. I sure did. I said yesterday, for those of you that missed the, quote, official return, by the way, keep smashing up the like, please. We got to exploit the algorithm. I had a great vacation. It was great seeing my friend. It was great hanging out with his family. I had great golf. I saw a number of my friends. I got some things done, some pretty big milestone things done. So it was a absolutely great vacation. But I will say this. I did miss this, and I missed you folks, and it is good to be back. Home sweet home. All right, one-man show, Cam. For now, yeah, but 13's coming on, Putrino's coming on, and Anne-Marie's coming on, so we're going to have plenty of great content for you, and I'm going to be able to get my washroom break. Maverick, good morning. Maverick says, good morning, Rip Claude Lemieux, an amazing hockey player. I was unsure if I was even going to say this here today. First of all, I don't want to bring the mood down, but also I'm not sure how many hockey fans are here. Maverick, I am absolutely thrilled that you said this. Claude Lemieux was an unbelievable hockey player, and I grew up in the era of Avs versus Red Wings, that rivalry, and as a Hawks fan, I got to sit on the side as a bystander. That dude was tough as nails. That dude was tough as nails, quality player, great teammate from all accounts from the players he played with. I saw that piece of news scroll across my timeline yesterday. Far too young. Far too young. But rest in peace, Claude Lemieux, no doubt. Alvin, good morning. Welcome back. Great to see you. What am I making here? You are the king. You can do it, Ryan. Lion, I keep telling you, no kings. No kings. Come on, dude. There's no kings out there. Fake Pete, good morning. Welcome back. Mo Chillin, good morning. Welcome back. Acorn, good morning. Welcome back. Acorn says he's buying Dell puts. Acorn, I'd like you to elaborate on that. You just think it's moved too far, too fast, and a regression back to the mean? Or do you think something is wrong there? Let me know. Gary, good to have you back. Gary, it's good to see you again and good to have you back. And by the way, I know I just took a couple of days off, but thanks for your years of support for not only me, but Benzinga, our community, and our platform. You the real MVP, buddy. Mark, good morning. It's great to see you again. Richard, good morning. Wiz says I've done my part. Okay, so you got a couple of likes. That's awesome. Okay, gives you good luck to hit the like button. This is our new show motto. Kelly, you did it. You're right. Reggie, good morning. Good morning. Snow pre-market, screaming busy day. We're going to take a look at snow. That's for sure. Wick says, I appreciate your show and the information you bring to trading. It changes lives. Y'all are amazing. Wow. More positive stuff here before 8 o'clock in the morning. I will take that on a Friday. Wick, it's great to have you here. I'm glad we're making a positive impact. It's one of the things that I know drives not only me, but the other folks behind the scenes, including people that you don't talk to or see on the stream. Big thing of what we do here is trying to better the lives of others. So when I get this feedback, I absolutely love it. Oh, man, Wiss, it rained every day for the last 10 days, and this weekend is not looking better. Oh, Wiss, I'm so sorry, dude. Maybe simulator? I don't know. Work life, good morning. Welcome back. We missed you. Stock movers were interesting. Had to think, what would Ryan in 13 say? Well, hopefully it went well. You'll have to let me know. The Jukebox, good morning. Who am I missing here? Who am I missing? Big Grip, good morning. Janie, it's great to see you. Good morning. Let's see. Ari Stock Market, good morning. Hood moved from yesterday. Okay. All right, folks. Let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. Oh, that was my fault. Sorry about that. All right. Futures green across the board. We had a new all-time high yesterday, and we are green across the board here today. S&P futures sitting in the positive by 0.13%. Dow futures up by 0.27%, and the NASDAQ futures up by 0.08%. So barely hanging on there. Let's take a look at some cues from last session here. Oh, I don't think I did that right. Here we go. Sorry about that. See, I need my producer back. All right, let's go ahead and dive right into this. Healthcare, information technology, and consumer discretionary posted the biggest gains on Thursday. However, utilities, consumer staples, and real estate bucked the overall market trend, ending the session lower. U.S. stock futures edged up on Friday after closing higher on Thursday, with all the major indexes gaining, as investors kept a close watch on the Iran war developments. Speaking of said developments, the U.S. and Iran have reportedly reached an agreement to extend the ongoing ceasefire by 60 days, but it is currently waiting a final approval from President Trump. The agreement would allow traffic to flow uninterrupted through the Strait of Hormuz, while the two sides negotiate the future of Iran's nuclear program. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.461%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.035%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show the market's pricing in a 98.9% likelihood of the Federal Reserve leaving the current interest rates unchanged during June's meeting. Now, we've got several stocks in focus here for you today, and the first one ought to be an obvious one. It is Dell. Ticker is DELL, and it surged to nearly 40% in Friday's pre-market session. Yeah, that's 40, not 4. Nearly 40% in Friday's pre-market session after the company reported an 88% year-over-year surge in revenue to $43.84 billion, which is the company's fastest growing revenue in 8 years. Just a monster report from Dell and a huge move. The next stock on our list is Agilent Technologies. The ticker is A, one of the rare tickers with just one letter. First quarter results beat Wall Street estimates with revenue coming in at $1.84 billion. That was higher than the estimated $1.8 billion. Agilent Technology shares surged over 18% to 136 and change in the pre-market session. The next stock on our list is my favorite store. It is Costco, and the ticker is COST, and it actually reported mixed third quarter earnings. Earnings per share of $4.93 coming in slightly below the consensus of $4.98, while revenue of $70.53 billion beat the $69.81 billion estimate. Costco shares fell about 0.5% in the pre-market, still holding on to $9.90.98, but that round 1,000 number might come into play. WIST, by the way, I did my part on that one. The next stock on our list is going to be Hewlett-Packard, and this is Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Ticker is HPE. Shares surged nearly 20% in the pre-market after Dell's blowout first quarter results turned Wall Street bullish about rival Hewlett-Packard Enterprise's prospects ahead of its second quarter results next week. So we'll see if they have something similar. The last stock on our list is going to be Snow, and several of you folks are already talking about this one, which is great to see. Snowflake's first quarter results showed that revenue grew 33% year over year to $1.39 billion, while EPS stood at 39 cents. Company also announced a multi-year $6 billion spending commitment with Amazon Web Services. Snowflake's up again here in the pre-market, also had some analyst re-ratings as well. So Snowflake also still on watch today. All right. Oh, what happened here? This is why I need producers. See, this is why I thank him all the time, because he does great work. All right, let's take a look at the SPY. We did hit a new all-time high yesterday. That value, let me get that for you here. That value, 755.15. Now, we're currently sitting at 755.92. So if the market were to open right here, technically we would open at a slightly new all-time high. We'll see if we get any of that here. Sure feels pretty good in the pre-market here today. And we had some pretty good earnings that are driving us higher here. Now, as far as levels go, this to me feels like a blue sky breakout, as we've talked about. The other thing here, a pullback, I would got to think that this next level here is this going to be the 749 to 750 level. This is probably going to come into play if this thing pulls back at all. If it pulls back here today, 6 points, I wouldn't be terribly shocked. I guess maybe I would. It feels bullish here today, so maybe that would be surprising. But we're going to have to pull back at some point here. I do think 749 to 750 is going to be a spot. And again, we have the 20-day curling up and giving us a little bit of support there. 739.31. We'll see where it is when we actually do move back down. But don't have much more for you than that, at least on the SPY. But let's talk about Dell. And before we do that, let's actually take a look at the chart, because like I said, this thing has just been an absolute monster. Oh, you know what? I needed to do the insights from analysts. Let's do the insights from analysts, and then we'll roll through some of the story. I'm going to go back to that Dell chart. Sorry for being a little out of place here. ING's Think Chief International Economist James Knightley. I'll tell you what, that is a hell of a title. Chief International Economist, and your name is James Knightley. That is awesome. On Friday, he stated that the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, the Personal Consumption Expenditures, or PCE index, was not as hot as feared. However, he added that this will do little to deter the increasingly hawkish bias of policymakers. Quote, consumer spending power is coming under increasing pressure with rising energy costs, forcing households to save less to maintain lifestyles, end quote. Knightley had said that in a recent note. He also pointed to the downward revision of first quarter Q1 GDP estimate, which was lowered to 1.6% from 2%. The downward revision was made due to consumer spending coming in softer than previously estimated, as well as a larger drag from inventories. Quote, the combination of softer inflation and weaker growth has seen a muted reaction, with Treasury yields 3 to 4 bips lower across the curve, but Middle East headlines continue to drive the narrative, with the data taking a back seat at the moment, end quote. So again, this is something that we've kind of talked about a lot. We're hearing reports that this might be ending soon. It definitely feels that way to me. Feelings are not something that you necessarily should make large investment decisions on unless you have a really strong feeling. It does feel like this is kind of coming to a conclusion. The market action is kind of telling me that. But we've seen how quickly things can change, especially if there's a headline, bomb, post, or otherwise that ends up changing things. So we'll see where we end up going with that. All right, now let's take a look at Dell for real this time. Let's go back to Pro. Here's the Dell chart, and I mean, this thing is like when we were talking about this recently. You know, I go back to Liberation Day, and I think about where this stock was and all of the worry that was out there, and just how quickly that dissipated. Look where we are. We drew a Fibonacci retracement to grab some levels here back when this thing was making its move. And then recently, this thing has absolutely mooned. It started to look like some of the memory names. Huge move higher here, plus 35.22%. Dell printing 428 here today. I don't know how many of you own Dell, but I'm just going to preemptively throw out a register ring, because this is a massive move, and it has been going for some time now. So I know Acorn, you talked earlier about possibly puts here. Well, I mean, First of all, look, this is a vertical move, right? This is a complete vertical move, humongous gap. So if this thing really kind of comes back in and shows some weakness, I understand. Keep me posted on what your how you're trading this or how you're approaching a potential regression to the mean trade here on Dell. Just an absolute monster move. If we look inside, this is what it looks like. We took an impulse move up. We took 2 legs up after that. And we're holding higher here today. First support area, by the way, about 416 on this one. We'll see if it ends up holding that from yesterday. Okay, let's talk about the news here in Dell. We'll break down the earnings report and some stuff from the report. Dell stocks surged in the pre-market trading Friday after the company reported first quarter results that topped Wall Street's expectations. It raised its full-year outlook and issued stronger than expected guidance for the current quarter, driven by accelerating demand for artificial intelligence infrastructure, all things that we kind of knew. The company also highlighted ongoing supply constraints in key semiconductor components, including memory and processors, as AI-related demand continues to exceed the available supply. Dell reported first quarter revenue of $43.84 billion. This surpassed analyst estimates of $35.45 billion, beat it by $8 billion and change. That's according to Benzinga Pro. Adjusted earnings came in at $4.86 per share, well above expectations of $2.94 per share, and revenue increased 88% from a year earlier, while adjusted earnings per share surged 214%. Chief Operating Officer Jeff Clark said demand remains strong across Dell's AI and infrastructure business, though component shortages continue to limit supply. Clark said the most significant constraints remain in DRAM, NAND flash memory, and microprocessors. You know, one of the other quotes that he had there is, "We do what we do best. Dell is going to continue doing what we do best, getting parts." And he seemed confident when he said that. So we'll see how much of this actually leads to further constraint. Adjusted gross margin rose 57% year over year to $7.9 billion, while adjusted operating income climbed 154% to $4.2 billion. Dell generated a record $4.1 billion in operating cash flow during the quarter and returned $2.1 billion to shareholders through dividends and share repurchases. The company ended the quarter with $14.1 billion in cash and investments. Revenue in Dell's Infrastructure Solutions Group reached a record $29 billion, and this was up 181% from a year earlier and supported by strong demand for AI servers, traditional servers, and storage products. Traditional server and networking revenue jumped 92% to $8.5 billion as enterprise demand continued to outpace supply amid ongoing infrastructure modernization efforts. Storage revenue increased 8% to $4.3 billion, and that was driven by demand for the company's PowerStore, PowerMax, PowerScale, and ObjectScale platforms. Client Solutions Group revenue rose 17% to $14.6 billion. Commercial revenue increased 18%, while consumer revenue gained 9%, benefiting from enterprise PC refresh cycles and gaming demand. Dell recorded a $24.4 billion in AI-related orders during the quarter and generated $16.1 billion in AI server revenue. The company ended the period with a record AI backlog of $51.3 billion. Management said its broader AI pipeline remains several times larger than its current backlog, despite strong order conversions. Like I said, just everything's off the charts here. For the second quarter, Dell expects revenue of $44 billion to $45 billion and adjusted earnings of $4.80 per share. Analysts were expecting revenue of $34.99 billion and adjusted earnings of $2.98 per share, so big guide higher. The company raised its fiscal 2027 revenue outlook to a range of $165 billion to $169 billion. That's up from its previous forecast of $138 to $142 billion. Analysts had projected full-year revenue of $142.25 billion. Dell also raised its full-year adjusted earnings guidance to $17.90 per share. That's up from $12.90, which was well above the analyst estimate's projection of $13.09 per share. The company lifted its full-year AI server revenue forecast to $60 billion and said demand continues to outstrip supply across both AI and traditional infrastructure markets, particularly for DRAM and NAND memory components. So just a massive move. The Dell's been incredible. I can't, I definitely don't want to chase it here, but I think Dell's going to continue to execute. And as Lion here is saying, that Dell report is good for Micron. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Okay, now the other big piece of news, I know we all follow the space theme. I almost want to call it the space race, but I guess that term is already used. Anyway, the whole space theme that's going on right now suffered a communal blow last night as the Blue Origin rocket, New Glenn, suffered an explosion. I'm looking across the pre-market and I'm thinking that maybe this has a little bit of a kind of a halo effect. We talked about the SpaceX positive halo effect. If you take a look across the board at like Rocket Lab and ASTS and Velo, and there are probably a whole bunch of others, what's Saidu doing? All of these are down a little bit. And I think that when you have the imagery of a gigantic rocket exploding, that's just kind of par for the course. However, doesn't seem to be as bad as we think. The Jeff Bezos-backed commercial space flight company Blue Origin's outer space goals hit a setback as the flagship New Glenn rocket exploded during Thursday's static fire test at Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida. An X-handle Spaceflight Now shared a video of the incident, and actually really quick, I'm going to give you this article because if you have not seen the video, the fireball is just out. It's outrageous. If you follow the whole space theme, probably worth watching anyway, to be quite honest with you. The Spaceflight Now shared a video of the incident, which showed the rocket getting engulfed in flames, followed by an explosion at Launch Complex 36. Blue Origin shared an update on X, saying that they recorded an anomaly, which prompted a response from Musk, quote, "Sorry to see this. I hope that you recover quickly," end quote. And to me, that came off as genuine. Bezos, meanwhile, shared that all personnel were accounted for and safe. So that's, obviously the biggest thing here, right? You see that explosion and you think, oh my gosh, I hope everyone is okay. And indeed, that seems to be the case. All personnel are accounted for and safe per Bezos. But he did acknowledge that Blue Origin did not know the root cause behind the failure. Quote, "It's a very rough day, but we'll rebuild whatever needs rebuilding," end quote. Now, SpaceX recently conducted the successful launch test of Starship's V3 following multiple delays. Musk-led company's upcoming IPO then received backing from investor Ross Gerber of Gerber Kawasaki, who hailed the achievement as, quote, "perfect timing," end quote, for the IPO. However, the company could trim its targeted valuation to $1.8 trillion from a previously reported $2 trillion figure. And notably, Musk had previously confirmed that SpaceX would be targeting a $1.75 trillion valuation for the IPO set to take place in June of this year. So going along with that, I just kind of want to tie these two stories together. This next one here is going to be about the SpaceX IPO valuation being trimmed to $1.8 billion. Still think this is going to be a gigantic blockbuster of an IPO. I think even if we get a sell the news event, it's still going to be one of the bigger events of the year. And I think it's going to be good for a lot of stuff, even if they do sell it right afterwards. We'll see how it shakes out, though. SpaceX, founded by billionaire Elon Musk, has reportedly adjusted its IPO valuation target to at least $1.8 trillion from a previously estimated $2 trillion. The firm is lowering its valuation based on consultation with advisors, investors, and feedback from other stakeholders. That was per a Bloomberg report today. Discussions are underway, and the firm could decide to increase its valuation target later, per the report. SpaceX is likely to begin formal marketing of the IPO on June 4th, and the final IPO price is expected to be set on June 11th. However, the timeline can be subject to delays, according to Bloomberg. SpaceX did not immediately respond to our request for comments, but as always, I will update you should I get anything. The valuation of SpaceX has been a contentious topic among investors and analysts. A previously floated $2 trillion estimate would, if realized, mark the largest IPO in history. According to a research note from TEMA ETFs, the Elon Musk firm should not just be seen as a rocket manufacturer, but as, quote, the infrastructure layer for the future of the space economy, end quote. I think that is going to play into how the stock performs, as well as some of the halo effect that we have talked about. This includes AI data capacity, satellite dominance, and ultimately new space-enabled industries. According to TEMA CIO Yuri, here we go, Kajamarian, that's a pretty sweet name, Starlink already appears capable of justifying much of SpaceX's $2 trillion valuation. And he cited revenue of nearly $11.4 billion and an EBITDA of $7.2 billion in 2025 from around 9 million subscribers. In February, the deal between SpaceX and XAI, designed as a triangular merger to minimize debt exposure, alone resulted in a $1.25 trillion company. That being said, the high valuation also triggers the likelihood of top stock market indices to include SpaceX shares on a fast-track basis. Freedom Capital Markets chief market strategist Jay Woods argues that space firms should not, quote, get a fast pass or express ticket, end quote, for inclusion into the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ 100 unless it meets the profitability criteria, float, and publicly traded timeframe requirement for 12 months. So I think I look up to Jay. I think he does great work. He's fabulous on television. Interesting to hear him say that, but it makes a lot of sense. That makes an absolute lot of sense. Okay, you guys are talking a lot about SoFi. So before we bring on Mark here, let me go back to Pro and let me just take a very quick peek at it. If you want, we can probably ask him about SoFi for some levels. So we've got that in Micron now, so maybe we'll go into that. Here's SoFi's intraday chart. We are up just shy of 14%. I don't have any fresh news on this. I don't think I saw anything this morning. Is this shorted? Let's see what the short interest is on this. Yeah, so the short interest is climbing here too. And by the way, I think yesterday morning, we took a look at short interest and we had kind of a stale date. That has actually since been updated. So it looks like the short interest here is climbing, but I don't see any other news story that's directly impacting this. Nonetheless, here's the move in SoFi, plus 14%. I'm sure we'll take a look at this here today. Lion says, I think SoFi is growing by adding trading stocks and options. Trade the Market says, do you do this every day? I meant live. Yeah, we do. Thanks for finding us here. Monday through Friday, every day. We do news, movers breakdown, live trading. We do interviews. We bring on guests. We do it all. We do it all here. And we do that every day. So, okay. And actually, speaking of that, this is a really good segue. Let's go ahead and bring on our guest. It's Mark Putrino time, folks. Mark, good morning. How you doing, my man?
Hey, good. Long time no see.
Long time no see. Look, I apologize for not being here last Friday, but I was on my way to Big Cedar to golf Top of the Rock, so
that's what I kind of assumed. So
yeah, I won the weekend. Trust me. I'll actually send you some pictures and a video of the fog that we had on the tee at 8 a.m. when we got there, but it was absolutely tremendous. We're back here. And also, pro tip, you probably know this. Returning from your vacation on a Thursday versus a Monday, really awesome. Probably should try that going forward. Just gonna throw that out there. But right. All jokes aside here, Mark, I'll tell you what, we've had people clamoring for some of your stock trading levels here. So I know that you probably have something you want to discuss here, stock of the day, some article that you've been writing, but we absolutely need to save some time for at least a couple of stocks here. That being said, what do you got for us? Oh, you're just going to jump right in. I love it.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have been asking me about this SpaceX thing. You guys can see my screen, I presume.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I was looking at their website, and you can actually apply on here to be on the mission to Mars if you want. So I don't know if I'm going to do that, but
yeah, me either. I'd like to come back.
Mega caps and like Facebook, Google. Meta, Alphabet. The only one I saw that really worked after the IPO was Google. Like Facebook came out, and within a couple of weeks, it dropped by 50%. So this is going to be an interesting IPO. And the way they're kind of changing the rules, or the way Elon wants to change the rules and everything, is kind of interesting. So I guess we'll just have to see what happens. But for today's stock of the day, I was going to just do Big Bear.
Okay.
And pretty simply, right? So this was support back here. This is actually a really good example of the old
Sure is.
descending triangle pattern. So let's put that in there. A lot of times when you get to support, you don't know if it's going to break or not. But if you have these series of these lower highs leading up to it, what this shows you is that the buyers are basically hanging out down here. And the buyers are like, all right, well, if the sellers come, they come. If not, we don't really care. They're not in a rush. But over the same time horizon, the sellers are getting more aggressive. They're willing to sell at lower prices. So essentially, a descending triangle pattern is really just a graphical illustration of aggressive sellers that can place in buyers. And regardless of the market, if you have that, there's a good chance it's going to go lower. So this thing is rallying, and it's not a coincidence that it has stalled out for now at 540 because that level was support back here. So there are people who bought back here who thought they made the right move, but when the support broke, they told themselves, I made a mistake, but I'm going to hold on to my losing position. If I can ever get out of it at break even, I will. So now that it's up there, you got these remorseful buyers from here placing sell orders here. And that's why we've kind of stalled out, and it's overbought. So I don't know. We'll have to see what plays out with this here, but I would think we're probably, we could be set up for a little bit of a reversal here.
Now, Mark,
Yeah.
really quick, just let me ask you here, and this is all hypothetical, so I'm not asking you to predict the future, obviously. What would you like to see here? Would you like to see it kind of use that as resistance and come back in a little bit, or would you like to see it maybe use that as resistance, trade sideways a little bit, and then make another test through it? What's optimal here for actually breaking that down?
Well, the fact that it's overbought means there's a good chance that it could kind of just snap right back.
Yeah.
So a lot of trading is based on the concept of reversion to the mean. So if something is overextended in one direction, it's going to draw people in who are expecting it to go back in the other direction. So in other words, these overbought conditions could draw sellers into the market. So you got two things going on here. We're at a price level where, for whatever reason, there's a lot of people who want to sell, and these overbought conditions could draw sellers into the market. So I think, for me, the optimal thing is overbought, overstretched, and makes a fast move lower. And I'm thinking about buying puts on it.
Okay. Yeah. So you're looking to maybe capture some of that regression back to the mean. That makes sense.
Yeah. And you all remember, I'm sure, this was a stock of the day. This Avis.
The car crash, baby. The car crash.
Yeah, this was a trade for the ages here. Well, now I got my eye on this end phase because this is also in a short squeeze. And this was a stock of the day as well. So when someone wants to short something, they borrow the shares from someone else. They think the stock is going to go down. So they borrow the shares, they sell them, their ideas, they buy them back in the future at a lower price, return them, and keep the difference. So when you have a stock that's heavily shorted, like end phase, the short interest here, meaning the amount of shares that have been loaned to short sellers, is 33% of the float. So every stock has short interest. That's the percentage of shares that are short. But it's usually 1 or 2%. When you get up to 20, 30% like this, you can get in a short squeeze. And that's what happened with Avis. As the price starts going up, the people who sold the shares short start to lose money because they're going to have to buy them back at a higher price than they sold them at. So it goes up and the buyers get into kind of a buyer's panic. The climax of the short squeeze comes when the people who loan the shares to the sellers see how high the stock has gotten and decide that they want to sell. So they sell their shares. The broker calls in the shares from the shorts, and the shorts have to go buy regardless of the price. When all that is over, there's a good chance it just comes right back to earth like we did with Avis. There was a Beyond Meat short squeeze back in October. That was back here. So on this one, it ran into resistance at a former resistance level. It was really overbought. And after it traded back down through the open, I think it was pretty clear at that point that this move lower was going to follow. So it's really important to understand as a trader that it's not about perfection. There's an old saying that the only people that can get the bottoms and tops are liars. And, it's probably true. So we have to remember, we're not here to be perfect. We're here to make money. And it's like in golf, right? There's no pictures on the scorecard. So you don't need to be perfect. But the key is to wait for the reversal to start. Like if something is going down and you want to buy it, you should wait for it to start going up. This is one of the many things about trading that's counterintuitive. Instinctively, people want to buy stuff that's down. But in reality, you want to buy it as it's going up, something that's bouncing off of support or something that's breaking through resistance. So we have to remember that people are not wired in a way that is conducive to managing money because we experience emotions. Now, in terms of the market, people are pretty surprised that we're moving ahead with all the stuff that's going on over there in Iran. But there's another old saying, another old Wall Street saying, the market climbs a wall of worry. And if people are still worried, if people are bearish, what does that mean? It means there's money on the sidelines. So if we look at our sentiment survey, which comes out once a week here, this is what we call a contrarian indicator. So we look for extremes. The historical norm is 31% of their members are bearish, 31% are neutral, and 38% are bullish. If we get to an extreme, like 60% of bearishness or bullishness, that's a contrarian indicator. So in other words, last April, we were at like 65% bearishness, and that was the perfect time to buy. So why is this excessive bearishness actually good for the market? Well, if people are excessively bearish, they sell their stocks. Eventually, the market runs out of sellers and it can only go up. So now we got to start waiting and looking to see for the opposite thing to happen. When people start to get really exuberant and people start to say, wow, this rally is for real. It's just keep going up and up and up. And all these people that are on the sidelines are finally going to say, all right, it's time for me to pull the trigger and jump in there. That's when we're starting to get to the top. But as long as people are skeptical, I think, I'm kind of surprised. And there's some really crazy stuff going on with these stocks that are just going vertical.
And Mark, really quickly before you move on here, I just want to tie this comment here. Ed was asked Mark his thoughts about the super high market all-time highs day after day. And you were just kind of explaining that. So just to kind of summarize this, your thought is, well, because there are still bearish people here, maybe it's not time to worry yet?
Well, we got to just assume that the trend is going to stay intact until it doesn't, right? And we got really overbought, but then this is the technology sector. Then we went into this sideways period here. That makes us not overbought. And now we're just kind of continuing to work ahead. But I will say this, a lot of the ideas that I'm looking at are like that end phase. I'm an options trader. So there's so much stuff that's really overstretched. At some point, this stuff is going to come back. I don't know if it's starting to yet.
Yeah.
But I will tell you one thing. I do remember the internet bubble very well because that's when I came up. My first trading job was in 1997. And these bubbles, they can just go on longer than people think. And people ask me, is the market in a bubble? I don't know if the market is, but there's certain places in the tech sector or tech stocks. I mean, look at this one. You could say that this is in a bubble here. So this would be something that I would be looking for a potential reversal. If we got back down, this is where we're trading. I would say if we got back down below this, say, 23 level here, at that point, I would probably think, all right, I'm pretty sure this reversal I'm anticipating is starting to unfold here. So let me go look at the options market and see if there's some good puts to buy. So
that actually looks pretty gappy below that break too, Mark. I mean, I feel like that could really kind of accelerate in the direction of your shorts.
And there are a lot of charts that look just like this. It's pretty amazing. Okay. So what I do sometimes is I just screen for stocks that are really overbought and that have options on them because I don't short stocks. And that's how I came across like a bunch of different things. End phase, which just happens to be in a short squeeze, but kind of the same thing here. I mean, I don't know if it would collapse like a short squeeze unwind would, but what goes up comes down. Stocks don't go up forever.
So really quickly, just kind of thinking out loud here, you're talking about how you kind of scan for that. So you'd scan for stocks that are optionable, number one, because you're not going to short, you're going to buy puts. Think that's totally smart. That's exactly how I would do it. You're going to look for stocks that have higher than 20% of float shorted, maybe higher than 30% if you want to start a little bit higher. And are you looking for stocks that have been up over the past month, for example, like a month to date gain or a week gain, or is that part of the scan criteria?
Well, if I'm scanning for stuff that's really overbought, then that's all you really need to scan for, not for performance or anything. Because
So then
if
RSI then. So you're looking at
yeah,
RSI over 70 or 80.
exactly,
Gotcha.
or from the Bollinger Bands or whatever. But yeah, I mean, if it's overbought, it's going to be implicit that the performance has been really good. So yeah, I just think it's a lot of people think if the market goes down, there's basically two mindsets in the retail community. One is you got to go to cash, or two
Mhm.
is you just ride it out and wait till it's all over because things will be great. And it's easy to say that when the market's at an all-time high. But in reality, when the market is going down, it presents a lot of opportunities to profit because markets tend to go down faster than they go up. Now, if you're not an options trader, you can look at some of these inverse ETFs. So obviously, it's been the semis that have been leading this. So this is the semiconductor ETF. Now, I got my eye on this, which is the inverse ETF, which goes by 3 times as much. So in other words, if the semiconductors go down by 5%, this should be up by about, say, 15%, roughly.
Mhm.
So there are ways to get exposure to a market that's moving down. You don't need to be a sophisticated options trader or futures trader. You just need to be aware that there's these inverse ETFs out there. So yeah, just have it on your radar screen. And we'll see what's going to happen.
Okay, I'll say this. I'm glad that you were around 2000 to give us some of this knowledge. I was busy drinking Coca-Cola and playing Mario Kart, so I didn't have any idea what any of that stuff actually meant until I started to look back on it when I was older. But I appreciate you sharing all of that.
Well, I'll tell you, it just becomes a mania, right? And my grandmother grew up in the Great Depression. So, like most people that grew up then, they're very, 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 very conservative with their money. So, me and my brother told my grandmother, basically, since like we were in high school, oh, you should put money in the stock market. You should put money in the stock market. And she never did. She just had it in bonds and CDs and so forth. So, anyway, at the height of the internet bubble crashed in March of 2000. Let's say it was February. I go over to her house and she's like, Mark, tell me how to buy stock. My friend's daughter just made $1 million on Qualcomm. so stuff like that marks the top because
Okay.
the market runs out of buyers. There's just no one left to buy. And a market with no buyers can only go down. So the other thing I remember very distinctly is some of this stuff. I mean, it can just go on and on and on. And we can go way higher than you think. Really interesting historical fact here is one of the really common buzzwords or terms back in the internet bubble was new economy stocks or old economy stocks. So the thought was, all right, that's say Walmart. That's an old economy stock. We're going to value that based on how much money it makes. This is an internet company. This is pets.com. Money doesn't matter. We're going to value it based on how many hits they get on their website or so forth. Things are different. When people say things are different, it's time to pay attention. If we flash back to the 1920s, right before the market crashed, they had their version of that. They had what they called old error stocks and new error stocks. And this bubble here was pretty much driven by radio. This is the 29 crash. So the thought was, all right, well, hey, that's Union Pacific Railroad. That's old economy. That's old error. We're gonna value that based on how much money it makes. Oh, this is a radio station. Who cares if it makes money or not? Things are different. We're gonna value it based on how many people can listen to it. So history repeats
I was going to
itself.
say, Mark, you're telling that story, man. That sounds like AI.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, but I'm just like thinking about the comparison that you're making. We're not going to value. If you are in data centers, take my money. Like that. That's what it feels like the market is doing right now. Anything else, who cares?
yeah. It's but yeah, history repeats itself, and it doesn't really matter what the future prospects are. They can be great, right? If there's no one left to buy, the stock's not going to go up. And I will
Right.
say this, a lot of people, there's kind of a narrative going around of, Well, a lot of those internet companies didn't make any money, right? So that's why they all crashed. Well, that being said, I remember Intel, Cisco, they were each down 80%. I think Microsoft was down 60%. So even the really good companies can get hit really hard. And a lot of retail traders have a hard time understanding that a lot of times the trading and the fundamentals have nothing to do with
Yeah.
each other, right? Most of the trading that occurs in a market, probably 80% of it these days, is just people trading. It's high frequency trading. It's all kinds of short-term trading. It's not people, or it's not strategies that care where the thing's going to be in 2 years. If you're a high frequency trader, you care where it's literally going to be in maybe 2 minutes. A day trader, it might be, say, 2 hours. So yeah, so the market can be, I mean, even here, right? I mean, I know we've had good earnings and everything, but is the economy or really worth 20% more than it was a month and a half ago? And I would say probably not.
You know how I would counter that, Mark? Measure that from the about 700 resistance area that you have.
Like right here?
Yeah, like right there. Just measure up to where we are today from about right there. You can just wherever you draw it. So what's
seven
what's
and
that?
a half.
Okay, so my counter argument to what you just said was, well, I'll tell you what, the valuation and the fundamentals, they didn't just dip 10% real quick and then go up 20%. It's what this is actually saying is that it's 7% more than where we were before we moved back down. You see what I'm saying? We had a nice little 9.99% correction that's reflected in your chart there in April, and then we moved higher from that. The actual gain from where we started, it's only 7%. It's not necessarily 20.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, like,
I understand what you're saying.
If you extend your time frame, in fact, if you zoom out just a little bit more, I'm kind of eyeballing this, so forgive me, but if you zoom out a little bit more, it actually looks like you could draw a correlation line through that graph there, and it would kind of cut off that dip and ripple right there. That your correlation coefficient is going to be pretty good on a line like that, and that. I think what we're talking about here, these market fluctuations back and forth, this is what you talk about every week. This is people's psychology. Nothing actually changed here.
Right.
Just the psychology changed.
And what I'd like to point out to people is there's this thing that happens in markets where we find support at former support levels. Here's the last April then that we found support right at this bottom. If we go back to COVID, we found support right at the 2018 lows. So that was back here. See, that's the COVID low. And that's the 2018 low.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think this is a really important thing to consider is this whole chart here, because this chart is not distinguishable if it wasn't labeled from a chart from today. And they didn't have AI back then. They didn't have computerized algorithms. This is 1883, right? Same thing. The market goes in a sell-off, and where does it find a bottom? At a former bottom. Just like now. Maybe things took longer to play out back then because of transportation and communications, but the market is a collection of people, and people have emotions. And if you look at a chart the right way, that's what you should be looking at.
Yeah.
Right? It's not astrology or mysticism or reading tea leaves. It's understanding supply and demand dynamics that are occurring in a market, right? And I mean, this is indistinguishable from a chart today, and it's pretty fascinating. But I think this is a good thing to consider because it really just reflects, okay, this is psychology. We don't really need to worry about AI or bots or this or that or the other. Than the key to being successful is understanding the psychology that moves the market and the psychology that makes you make mistakes. Holding on to your losers for too long or selling your winners too early. I was always able to get out of my losers really quick. I had a hard time though. My weakness would be tending to sell too early.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Too.
But being aware of it is a big step. Like just having that awareness, saying like, why am I selling this? Am I afraid of losing a profit, or do I have an actual reason for selling it? So
it's the same thing with problems. If you have a problem, the only way you're going to solve it is understanding it first. And this seems something similar here in the market. Can we do a couple of
sure
charts? All right. I want to get through for sure Micron, Netflix, and SoFi. And then we'll go from there. So let's start with Micron here. Zach, wake up. I'm just kidding. It's actually not even morning for Zach. That doesn't. It's like the afternoon for him. He's probably fine.
All right. All right. So this is trading right around 946. So kind of right here. I don't know. I mean, I personally would have a hard time buying this right here. I mean, it's just, these big gaps up. We're kind of stalling out here. So I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think the path of least resistance here is probably going to be to the downside. Now, think about the market and let's think about supply and demand and equilibrium. If the market's moving higher, it's out of equilibrium, right? There's more demand than there is supply. There's more shares to be bought than there are for sale. So the buyers are forced to outbid each other. Now, all of a sudden, we get up here and guess what? There's enough supply to fill all the demand. The market's not going any higher. This could be the equilibrium point that tells us we might be shifting out of equilibrium in the other direction. We can use our Seinfeld. It's the vending machine. I thought it was the refrigerator where you got to push it over, but like a seesaw. Yeah. It's like a seesaw. It goes back and forth. And so, the fact that we're in equilibrium now, at least we have been for like pretty much the last 3 days, it could be indicative that we're kind of getting to a top. Let's talk about, while we're at it, let's talk about a little doji type pattern. If a market is going sideways, it's in equilibrium. So if you see like a doji pattern, it's kind of irrelevant because we know the market's in equilibrium. But if you see one of these little doji patterns after a trend, like something like that, it could mean something. We're out of equilibrium, and then all of a sudden we're in equilibrium, which is the first sign that tells us, hey, we might be about to go out of equilibrium in the other direction. So when you're reading chart patterns, it's important to understand where they are, right? If something's going along sideways and it looks like a head and shoulders pattern, it's not a head and shoulders pattern. Yeah. A head and shoulders pattern is a reversal pattern. So it needs to be at the end of a trend. In the Market Technicians Association, or the CMT Association, whatever they call it now, a couple of years back, they did this big study on the head and shoulders pattern. And they had this guy do all this computerized stuff. And he came up with a conclusion that the head and shoulders pattern is not a valid pattern because most of the ones he identified didn't work out. But the guy just didn't understand it. He didn't understand that this has to be at the end of a trend. I'll show you my, you very rarely see like a really classic head and shoulders pattern, but it's more important to understand the dynamics than the pattern. So if a market is going higher, you get this a lot, right? What was resistance becomes support. Resistance becomes support. So the head and shoulders pattern, at least to me, the essence of it is when what was the left shoulder does not become support. That's warning sign number one. And then the right shoulder is a lower high than the head. So those are your two warning signs right there.
That's great, Mark.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not just about, like you see stuff like this all the time. I mean, not a classic pattern, but this is a good example of the price action that I'm talking about here. So, all right. I mean, so this is more like what you would see in a market than a classic head and shoulders pattern. Resistance becomes support. Resistance becomes support. Let me get rid of this line here. I don't know why that's there. Now here, resistance becomes support, right? And then here is where the support breaks. And then we get the lower high, or here you would have two right shoulders.
But you get a retest, of the shoulder level.
Yeah. So that's kind of the essence of what we want to look for. It's not about just saying, hey, it's that pattern or it's this pattern. It's understanding the price action and the trading activity that makes these patterns form. That's the important thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, that was good on Micron. Let's do Netflix real quick.
All righty, Netflix. What do we got here? 86.54. All right. So I don't know. Not really too much going on here. I would say it is right at the bottom of this range here. Not too much going on today, but so I would, if this support breaks, we could get a pretty decent move lower pretty rapidly because we'd be going back into these areas that we gapped through. See here, this big rapid move down lower, it refilled the gap. One of the main reasons why we get support in the market is people who sold trying to buy back on the way down. People sell at 10, it goes to 12. They say if it gets back to 10, I'll buy it. Well, when you have a situation like this where you gap, there's little or no trading in here. So when the stock returns to this price, the sellers come in and they have a hard time finding buyers. You don't have that group of remorseful sellers trying to buy shares back. So there's not a lot of buyers around. So the sellers are really forced to kind of lean on it. So it's a principle of markets that if you move quickly through levels in one direction, and then you get back to those same levels moving in the opposite direction, you can move quickly right back through them. So I would be careful of that. And then, if it holds, probably going to be some resistance up around 90, 91 or so.
Okay, so this is great. If this thing breaks 85, 86 to the downside, probably looking at a 70 handle number. And if it holds, maybe it returns to 90 and retests that resistance area.
Yeah, exactly. It's in the markets for some reason. I mean, most of the time we don't know, but for some reason, some price levels are really important. The stocks care about them or like them or turn at them. And some levels the stocks just trade right through like they're not even there. And I don't know why, but the good thing is you don't need to know why. You can just, if you can identify the level, when a stock gets to an important price level, it's like it gets to a crossroads. They usually don't hang out there for too long. They usually either, like, look at this one up here. So this price up here is, let's call it 110, was support, became resistance, and then we rally back and look at that. We were there for probably an hour during the course of the day, and then we reversed off of it here. So my point is when we get to an important price level, a lot of times you don't hang out at them for too long. That was support, bounced there, right? We're up there just for 2 days. Yeah. People ask me about volume profile all the time. That's the thing where you have the volume on the side.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it's important to understand that a price level can be important without a lot of volume trading at it. Like more like up here, when you're only at a price for like a day or two, probably not going to be a lot of volume trading at it. So I wouldn't let that affect my judgment. If I saw a turn and it wasn't on like a huge amount of volume or whatever, I would pay more attention to the price action. I wouldn't really care about the volume.
Mark, can you really quickly, before you drop off here, back that to a weekly chart and zoom out a little bit? 13 is saying Netflix has a head and shoulders pattern that spans from 2024 to 2026. Looks like you got it right there.
Yeah,
that kind of looks like it right there, to be honest. That is at the end of the trend, right? Yep.
Because that's the left shoulder didn't.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the warning sign. It didn't become support. And then this is a lower high.
Yep.
So, yeah, pretty cool.
Okay, good stuff. Mark, we really appreciate you as always. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. I hope your golf game is ripping over there. You must have some good weather now.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's like nice and cool. Yeah, I've been playing good. So
me too. I played good when I was in Big Cedar, and that made me really, really happy. Mark, we really appreciate all of your insights. I look forward to doing this again with you next week. Have a great weekend, right, my man?
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Mark Putrino, as always, I'm going to say this every week, folks. We'll bring on 13 here in a sec. That was because Mark left and I clicked the thing and you went into the, sorry. Anyway, really quick, as far as Mark Putrino goes, please sign up for his Substack. We bring him on here so that we can kind of remind us about market lessons, charting lessons, fundamental lessons, as well as just review the stocks that you want. He does a great job with the Substack. You'll always pick up little nuggets from him. We appreciate it. Okay, now, without further ado, it's pre-market pulse time and 13 time. All right, 13, happy Friday. How you doing, baby?
I'm doing just fine.
Had to keep you on your toes.
How is everybody this morning?
We're doing good, man. It is Friday. Everyone's in a good mood. We're ready to rip here. Bob says, Mark is my favorite guest that you have on.
Bring him on more.
Well, that is awesome. Well, you know what, Bob? We'll keep bringing him on then, because that's great. I love Mark. He's been great ever since I met him. been awesome to me as well, both on camera and off camera. So really good guy there. All right, 13. Where do you want to start here today? I noticed that. I was going to say, I didn't, when I got up and I looked at the movers, I kind of chuckled because the top mover was Dell.
Well, I mean, it wasn't the top mover for me, but it was up there. Crazy earnings results. I don't know if anybody was expecting that kind of performance.
What's the top mover that you have? Oh, you must not have this dollar filter on here. Yeah, Hub C, the penny stock. Okay, fair enough.
Well, PRFX is the one I have on top, and then OLOX is after that because I don't look at penny stocks.
Okay. So PRFX probably hasn't traded 600,000. Okay, well, this is good. I'm glad we talked about this. Yep. Oh, actually, yeah. No, it's traded 22 million. How is this not on here?
I don't know. I'm just going with what the scanner that has always worked for me, and that's what's on top.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I apologize. We're absolutely going to take a look at this, and you know what? We can start with it. Did you want to start with these, or did you want to start with an individual name?
Oh no, I can just. I only looked at a couple of these because I was trying to do a little bit of digging as to why some of these were moving because it wasn't very apparent. So I had to kind of read into what they were going through, and that's why I only have two here. But we can talk about them. I don't think they're great. I think there's other things that we could look at. But this is going to serve more as a trade it if you want, but there's some warnings attached.
Okay. Well, let's start with it. Should we start with PRFX? Do you have a different one that you want to start with? Okay.
PRFX.
Okay. So looking at this, I don't see. There was a general corporate statement in the evening. They had the news yesterday about the deep solar commercial launch and AI platform. So maybe that's what it's running on.
That's really it.
That's really it. Kathy, thank you for the shout out here. PRFX is restricted on Schwab. So this is one of those that you're going to need to either have that restriction lifted or just look for something else. Looking at the, I guess I should go back to that. Here's the 5 minute. Boy, that looks like a reverse split from hell. We'll take a look at that here in a sec. Short interest on this 8.48%. So there, but not totally high. Days to cover 3.3 run. Again, something, but not necessarily super high. On average, it trades 850,000 shares, done 23 million today. Float is under 1 million. So that's low float mover here. Let's take a quick look at market events splits and see what kind of splits this thing.
They did have one this year. It was a 1 for 5 in February. That's why their float is 868,000 shares.
And they also had 2 in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a 1 for 10, their biggest one, way back in 2023. So this thing has reverse split a few times here. Here's what the chart looks like. Looks like a pop to 9 in the after hours. We came all the way back into 450 here. 13. It looks like as long as this holds 4, that is going to be your downside level. VWAP your upside level. What do you think?
Well, this is a Israeli company that is got two main business segments. They're a pharmaceutical drug delivery technology company, and they're also an AI-driven renewable energy company. So how those two go together, that's up to you to figure out. I only just know that because it's what I was reading. So that's what they do. They recently discussed some advancements in their AI-driven renewable energy revenue optimization platform. I think that's the main reason why it's going here today, aside from the fact that it's a very low float and really easy to push around. The company, though, fundamentally is not great. It has little cash, almost no revenue. I think that they're going to have to do a capital raise very soon. So that's the word of caution I have with this one. Trade it if you like, but just be careful with it because they could hit you with an offering. Now, as far as spots for resistance and support, this thing has been having trouble recapturing the VWAP since it lost it last night and in the after hours. So haven't been able to recapture that. We had a big gap up in the pre-market that tried to get back in, but couldn't do it. We're still beneath VWAP. Until we climb over that, that's going to be resistance, and support. I would say is going to be about 4. But you also might get some support from the 200 EMA down at 362.
Yeah, that the perfect breakdown. That looks exactly right. And 13, one of our viewers figured out what was wrong with my scanner. My filter was set to information technology only. No wonder. The reason I did that was because of a support session where I showed a user exactly how to look for what he was looking for, and that was in IT. So good spot there. Okay, good stuff. PRFX. I have the same movers that you do now. OLOX, was that the other one that you had?
That's the other one.
Okay, so this is Olenex Industries. This popped in the after hours yesterday, pulled back a little or retraced back to the mean, and then went higher here this morning. Let's see what we had here. Looks like yesterday we had a PR in the morning and then a corporate update in the afternoon after the close. That's what ripped it higher.
But I think if you click that first headline from today, it'll give you a quick breakdown of what exactly was that PR was about yesterday, or that corporate update was about.
Yeah, and that's another good pro tip on how to use pro. So if you want if latency is important, you probably want the press releases as soon as they're released. But if you don't necessarily care about that, these articles here telling you why these things have moved can be a really great help to you in trading. So the company announced the closing of its acquisition of energy-intensive data center and digital infrastructure company CS Digital Ventures. $30 million deal, $14 million newly issued Series D preferred stock, and 16 an unsecured promissory note.
Series D.
Okay, let me run through this. I don't want to take all of it from you.
Sure.
10.38% of the float shorted. Looks like that is a massive drop. I wonder what happened in here. That is a move down from 89%. Maybe there's some funny business going on in there. 1.94 days to cover. On average, the stock trades 200,000 shares, trades 17 million today versus a float of 1 million. 13, what do you got? OLOX.
Yeah, so it's moving on that update and the closing of the merger, or the acquisition, I mean. So that's what it's all going on here. And we also had a reverse split with this, I think prior to all that going on. This happened on the 6th of May. It was a 1-for-10 reverse split. That's why the float is 1.048 million shares. Company, does not have a lot of cash. It does have revenue, but not enough to pull it into profitability. So maybe this merger will this acquisition will finally help lift it there. Although I'm a little bit concerned about the Series Ds. That's a lot of that's a lot of preferreds to go through. But anyway, as far as how we could try and trade this, we're actually down at a support area right now. I have this spot that we just bounced off, or pretty close to 980. I would say 975 to 980. That's going to be your support that we just got. Now, if we can get a recapture of the VWAP, we're going to want to see another recapture of 1020. I would say 1020 would be the next resistance area if we can get back above the VWAP. So VWAP 1020. If we can get a lift beyond that, then we're in this consolidation here where it may still be a bit of a hard area to chew through. But at least we won't be at risk of falling to the next level, which I think is going to be 880 if we can't hold this 980 area.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there. OLOX. Those were the only two that you had?
Those are the two that I looked at. I did write down that CMND is back up on the scanner here, as was Devs. These are some older ones that we've looked at before. Children's Place is up 20%. I have no idea what that's on, but it's probably going to come right back down as it always does.
And then STG, this is Sunlands Technology. This is a China name. This is up 102%, up to $5.
This wasn't up 100% when I looked at it. So let's look at this one.
Yeah. Okay. So they announced a $50 million share repurchase program.
Okay.
Material asset disposal for cash. Announced that Wuhan Xinzhen Yoxan Online Education Technology has entered into an equity transfer agreement to dispose of 100% of the equity interest. The board of directors has approved a share repurchase to buy back 50 million of its Class A shares over the next 36 months. So there's your news here. Stock is a double on that news. Short interest on this, nothing. There's literally less than 1,000 shares held short on this. There is no short interest to worry about. This thing is the epitome of a ghost town. 3,000 shares, actually just under 4,000 shares is its daily average. It's done 16 million today versus a float of just about 4 million. This to me, I mean, maybe this is a trader here. This to me has "be careful" written all over it.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because I was looking at the market capitalization prior to this announcement. It was less than 50 million. Anyway, let's look at the chart, because I don't know if I want to
Me either.
rack my brain trying to dig through that. So looks like we're trying to get a recapture here of these smaller EMAs, the 9 and the 15. If we get that, the next resistance appears to be about 560, and then the VWAP maybe after that at just above 6. It looks like it's trying to turn around here, but yeah, that VWAP is going to be a tough spot. This will probably do better once it opens, but I don't know that I'd necessarily be interested in this one. I thought the OLOX one was looking interesting, but now we're trading lower towards the 65 EMA as well.
Okay, I'm just going to keep moving here real quick.
Sure.
The next one here is REPL. This is Replimune. I feel like we've traded this before. Kathy, have you ever mentioned this one before? I feel like we've talked about this before. Maybe I'm misplacing that. Replimune Group. Replimune Group shares are trading higher after the company announced it will resubmit the RP1 biologics license application to the FDA. That is
moving on that.
Yeah, it's moving on that, which is I'm skeptical of. This impulse move up to 726, little bit of a regression back to the VWAP. Second leg took us up towards 837. It sure looks like this is going to try and break that and go for 850, maybe even higher on that. Quick peek at the short interest on this name. 56.4% of the float shorted with 2.83 days to cover. So maybe we get a short squeeze action on this one. 12.7 million shares have traded today. That's versus an average of 6.1. Float on this a little bit thicker than some of these that we look at, just shy of 42 million. So definitely not considered low float REPL. You got any thoughts on this one, 13?
It makes a little bit more sense when you read into why the resubmission is a big deal. And of course, with biotechs, you want these drugs you spent all this money and time on to actually do, get approved and perform. Because if they don't, then that's a whole lot of money that just went down the drain. So this is our third attempt at a submission here, and they've been talking with the FDA about this resubmission. So this is a path forward for them, so that they don't have to accept that massive loss. But there's also a very high amount of short interest here, and I think that's what we're also seeing is a big short squeeze. Now, it doesn't have necessarily the days to cover. But with 56% of the float shorted, I think we're seeing more squeezing action than not.
Okay, we actually just did break through those pre-market highs and the 850 level. We'll see where this ends up settling. Replimune rolling here, up 85%. That might also be one of our 100% runners. Okay, just got in Replimune. Okay, well, good stuff, Kathy, because you're up on that now. Now, I generally don't do this. For all of you folks that are new, we generally do not cover penny stocks here. They're for the most part a joke. You guys are mentioning Hub C here. Hub Cybersecurity. This stock closed at 11 cents yesterday, and it was above 40 cents here today. So this is up 238%. Oh. Now, I can't remember exactly what this was here.
This is on a 13G. There's a bunch of 13Gs, but that's kind of what they're paying this on, is that there's, we had Andre Wang, 15.6 stake.
Yep. That's it.
Taylor Kent White, 35.1%. John Matthew Walden, 9.9%. So there's a lot of, there's several big investors jumping into this thing.
And per the short interest, this thing says 94.86% of the float is shorted.
Jesus.
So, I mean, I guess I'm just one day to cover lol, but I guess I'm just going to say that this is possible short squeeze here. Floats 1.28 million. I will probably stay away from this. I just generally don't care about penny stocks, but this is a super, super cheap stock that has a 15 and change stake. Big B is mentioning that cybersecurity is running.
This has a delisting notice. That was last week they got it. So this is going to be a future catalyst for them on a recompliance. I don't know.
They need to get it back above $1, right?
That would be my first thought here. I haven't
Okay.
looked at their finances, so I don't know if they're deficient in that area as well. But yeah, they need to get above $1. And if they're going to have to do a reverse split, it's probably going to. I mean, with 1.2 million shares, how much more can you reverse split, really? But they still can.
They have until July 17th.
Yeah, I would have to read into this some more, but that's July 16th. Hold on, that's to submit a plan, and if it's and then they have 180 days, so basically November 11th, to regain compliance.
Okay. All right. What else do you want to look at? Because I need to step away for a sec. So pick something that you want to take a look at, whether it's a mover or an individual name.
All right, let's look at what Big Bees is saying. RBRK.
That's Rubric. That was another one. This was one I liked in the cybersecurity theme. This one ended up not working out. Here's Rubric earnings in 6 days from now. It is up 2% here in the pre-market. I think what Big Bees was talking about is that this has actually been on a really nice run from like this $50 bottom area. Thing is $70 here. I guess how high can it go? Quick peek at the short interest, 10%, 5 days to cover. So that's actually high on the days to cover, and it's climbing on the percent of float shorted. So we'll see if maybe that keeps climbing there. Float's 158 million on this. You want a daily? You want me to leave the daily on 13?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, be back less than a minute.
Okay, because I'm looking at the daily chart here, and looks like we just closed over the 200-day SMA. Yesterday, for the first time since, I guess we could count that December 22nd close, but we were right back beneath it. Otherwise, it's December 15th, and that's a good chunk of time there. So been a while since it's been above the 200-day SMA. We also have a silver cross here that occurred on May 4th. So that's helping lead it higher. It's going to be some time before we get a golden cross out of this. The 500-day SMA just appeared at the end of April. I would say that if we're going to see more highs out of this, I want to see this come back to test the 200-day SMA again and hold. I think that's what's going to have to happen. We get a hold above this 200-day SMA, we're going higher. And I think that the next resistance area is probably going to be 80. That's the way it would look to me. You can draw a horizontal line across at 80, and you can see that was the resistance back in December. It was the support back in August, and it was also the resistance back in February of last year as well. So I think that $80 level is pretty important. There's also a trend line you could draw from the highs, like the June highs through the September highs. And that gives you a bit of a target to shoot for if we do go past 80. But that's what I'd be looking at here with Rubric on continued upside. We did recapture the 200-day SMA. I want to see several closes above that, maybe even test the 200 as support. And if we do continue to climb higher, 80 is going to be resistance. I think that's a really standout spot. And if we continue beyond 80, that trend line is where I think that I'd have that target.
Okay, awesome. Plotted that trend line on there for you.
Excellent. All right. Well, so what are we looking at now? It looks like OLOX is trying to turn around and get back above VWAP as we approach the open. GMEX looking like a scalper today. I'll take a look at GMEX.
Yeah, I can bring that up here. GMEX.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, no problem, Biggies. GMEX Robotics Corporation. This is in Australia, huh? I don't know anything about this company. Intelligent Consumer Technologies. Is this going to make a household robot? I mean, I'm just kind of guessing here, but I'm just kind of looking and seeing what this. Because I don't know anything about this company. Very low float, so easy to push around. Looks like they just did their share consolidation of 1-for-7 Class A and 1-for-28 Class B reverse split that happened on the 1st of May. You also have insider buying. Kind of interesting. I just don't know enough about this to really have a good opinion on it. I like that it's trading back above the 20-day SMA. We had a couple of closes earlier, yesterday and the day before, closed beneath the 20. One more, and we would have probably went down some more. But this is a good sign. And it looks like 250 is going to be about your resistance. So if this does climb after the open and we approach that 250, that's your all-time high. And I don't know that we're necessarily going to break past that, but we could. Like I said, I don't know enough about this company, but it looks like 250 is the spot that the price wants to go.
Okay. Really quick programming note here. Just got a note from Anne Marie that Xfinity has an outage in her area.
Oh no.
Yeah. I don't want to laugh because I feel bad for her because I just went through this myself, but 13, if she can't, we do have Sandra today, so if she can't join, you want to hang out for an extra 30 minutes or so?
Yeah, I'll hang out.
I appreciate you. You did not seem happy about that, but I appreciate you taking one for the team. That's awesome.
Hi, dude.
Okay. All right. Lion, you mentioned Gap earlier. I think you said that this could be a short. So you think this could actually fall more than the 15% that it's down now? The way that I would look at this one, very similar. I would just kind of mark off this pre-market area. And if it breaks down or out from that and back tests it, that's our entry trigger. If you have a target or a specific game plan, I'd love to hear it. But Gap here, shares are trading lower after earnings. So
what are we thinking? Like 1850? I mean, it's funny. You have a company called Gap when it's about to gap down. This is a big, looks like this is kind of a rejection of the 200-month SMA. I'm looking at several different time frames, and there's several things that I see, like there's support on the 500-week that we're down to right now. And if we lose that, then I think that 1850 is possible. So, I mean, there's going to be a bounce. I don't know if Lion's what he's planning to do, but this looks like there could be a bounce at some point intraday. I don't know that it's going to necessarily recover, but that's kind of what I would expect.
Okay. Chris, remember the Old Navy commercials with Morgan Fairchild? Gap was so hot back then. Chris, I think what I like the most is that you and I are roughly the same age, because a lot of your nostalgic references hit me right in the feels. I remember almost all of them, if not all of them. So that's awesome. All right. Less than 3 minutes till we open here. I can actually move over to the main workspace, see what's going on.
Frozen King, what do you mean spider networks? Are those any different than mesh networks? Because 6G, we have a list of names that we really want to pay attention to with that, and Dell's one of them.
Really quickly, guys, ENPH, we just talked about this with Putrino. ENPH is a power candle here. Now, the volume is not huge, but this is right up to yesterday and the previous day's highs. This is a key level here.
Yeah, I've got so this low from November 6, 2023. I have a line here that indicates that was a support line, and it was lost back in November of 2024. And when we came back up, we failed to close above it. Now we're testing it again. This so that low and the 7650 level I've got marked off here. I don't know how long I've had them there, but those are two areas of resistance on my weekly chart that are pretty stand out. Let me look at a different time frame here.
While you're doing that, Tom says, I don't know if it's me, but Kramer's voice goes through me like nails on a chalkboard. Definitely not just you. I'll just leave it at that. Definitely not just you.
So go to a monthly if you could. All right. So now you see that area there, that low from November of 2023.
Oh yeah. Oh, low. Yes. Absolutely.
So I think that area right there, that's going to be the big support resistance area. What was formerly support and was lost is now resistance. So it's going to have to. I think it's going to have to be a big volume move that takes us back up and over these levels.
Okay.
We had a big volume move that took us down through it.
Okay. EMPH right before the bell there. We are about to open here.
All right, let's go.
Joe says Ondas back to 1175. As long as it holds that breakout area, I'm okay with that. I love that we're above the trend line. I'd actually like to hold it above the trend line, but we'll see. Okay, we are open, folks. Let's see what we get. See what we get here today. Showtime.
Okay.
Showtime.
Looks like PRFX is trying to get past VWAP. OLOX is trying to hold above that 980 area.
REPL, this looks like it might retry that high. We'll see. You had OLOX, right? OLOX.
Yeah,
Here we go.
OLOX. That's it's above the VWAP right now, trying to stay above it.
This thing
PRFX
spread pretty good.
Yeah, PRFX actually pushing.
Here's PRFX.
Looks like Rigetti is selling off, so RGTZ is getting a lift out of the gate.
Apple 313, Apple popping. We had a news article that Apple's going to be redefine the AI assistant with Siri. I'm going to call that I'll wait and see it. I'll wait to see it before I believe it type thing.
Right.
But that's just me. Costco, this was actually down on earnings. It was a mixed report, but we're right back to even off the open. Your OLOX might be trying to go a little bit more. Not in this, by the way.
It's trying to push right now. PRFX also moving as well. Just be careful with these. And it'd be great if OLOX goes up to the trend line we drew.
Yeah, let me add that trend line to this chart as well. Oh, for heaven's sake. Oh my God. I cannot click on the right things to save my damn life right now. This.
Chicago Realtor, any opinion on ASAN? This looks like it's on the recovery here. We're coming up to a resistance area at 8. Back in March, it tried to climb over 8 and was rejected 3 days in a row. So that's going to be a big resistance area to climb over that $8 spot.
SoFi, big pull here. This basically pulled back down to where it broke out. You guys were mentioning software. Several of you have mentioned Now. Alex, you're on Now here, up another 9% this morning. Indeed, and this actually looks like this might try and go through 120 on Now. Let's see what it looks like as it gets higher up there. Let's see. Up, it's going. It's trying.
Yeah, it looks like OLOX is trying to climb some more. It's going through 11, or it was just a second ago.
OLOX.
It's struggling with that. These resistance areas we were talking about. That whole consolidation in the pre-market. But if we can push through it, I think we'll see the other side of 12. And we need to get. I think we need to clear at least 1145.
Okay. This actually looks pretty decent, and the spread is tightening a tad on this one. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Okay, Dell, this is another big mover here. Dell, this pulled a little bit. Profit taking to be expected. Let's see if it moves through the VWAP. Lion mentioning that Now is popping. I know we just took a look at that, but I felt like it came back, right? It stopped near 120 and came back a little bit. Yeah. So, Lion, do you think that this takes out 120 here? Ooh, that was kind of a nasty candle. I don't think that was real, though. I don't think that was real. Lion, what do you think here? You think this retakes 120? Webcoin saying OLOX has a lot of room if it does indeed squeeze. So let me ask you, are you looking for a particular level to get above? Like, I know 13, you had the trend line here, but are we thinking that the squeeze gets reinitiated if it moves through a specific level or something like that?
Well, I think what I would want to see if we can climb above this trend line is for that to become support. And if we, I guess if we get several, if the price can hold above it for a time, then it may end up moving up later on. But that's going to be the first thing I want to see if we're going to see it continue to move higher like that. Is I want to see this trend line get broken. Real quick on Palantir, since I was getting asked about that, since it had a power candle yesterday that recaptured the 50-day SMA. If this climbs higher, I could see it going to the 160 area, maybe the 200-day SMA, but that's where I still think resistance is going to be. We've visited the 200-day SMA multiple times already in the past couple of months. I think going up there again is going to initially see resistance, but if we continue to hammer it, we could climb higher. But that's where I think the resistance is going to be to the upside here on Palantir is that 160 and that 200-day SMA area.
Okay, this looks like this is trying to go. Lion talking about Micron. What's Micron doing here? Micron trying to take out the pre-market high.
Oh yeah, when it hits 1,000, I'll be like, fine, great, grand, finally did it. Because that's one of the things that. Because I was wondering why, when is it going to do that? I thought it was going to see 1,000 this week. And I think there were some folks saying, oh, it'll probably be next week. I'd like to see it this week. All right, OLOX starting to get weak here. Not able to push and hold above the VWAP. It hasn't lost the 980 yet, but it's back down here looking for support.
And Daniel mentioning here, doesn't like the 11.5 resistance on OLX. Could be a false breakout stock.
Maybe. It's one of the reasons why exercise caution on this, because this is a reverse split low float name, has has very little revenue, little cash, not profitable. Just one of those things you got to be careful with.
Lots of Amazon calls just came through here. These look like 275s for June 5th. Wow, there were a lot of sweeps there on Amazon. This is actually moving above what line? Where did this line come from? Oh, this is the trend line. Yep. Okay, so Amazon, interesting. This pushing back through the trend line, maybe towards highs. Tons of call flow just now. AMZN.
It's funny. It's really funny. Hold on a second, real quick, and I'll tell you what's funny. Let me just double check something.
I like funny stuff. So Palantir, by the way, nice move.
We were just talking about how consumer discretionary was one of the more hammered down sectors, and especially if we get some clarity on the Strait of Hormuz and we have stabilization in energy prices, I think consumer discretionary and financials could perform really well. So here we are with XOY. It's kind of breaking out of a bull flag pattern on the daily or the weekly or whatever you want to look at. To me, it's looking like this is headed towards 128.
Okay. And then if we do that on the daily, here's what it looks like. There's a trend line that goes through here. I don't have it on this, but this is where you're getting that from. Okay.
OLOX halted to the downside.
Did it really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, shoot. I'm clicking on the wrong things again. I'm sorry, man. I'm all over the place today. Oh, buddy.
Tom, it's not something I would put on the back burner. I think that's something that's totally going to happen. Is we're going to hear a lot more from him on the deal after the market closes, or maybe even over the weekend. I think one of the things that I don't know if he said it, but it was speculated that he was saying it, or maybe an aide said it. He wants to mull this new offer over the weekend, maybe discuss it with Israel. I don't know. But I think that's one of the reasons why it's been quiet, is because they're taking a look at it. But I don't have that's all I've got on it.
The market pushing to highs here, 756, so another new all-time high, but a lot of pulls. I mean, if it's not Palo Alto, Palantir, or Apple, we're getting pulls across the board. Costco reversed, Netflix continues to pull, Ondas pulling back, Velo pull. I wanted to ask you, 13, with the Blue Origin rocket blowing up yesterday, do you think we get kind of a little bit of a cooling of the space halo effect as people see this giant rocket blow up? It kind of feels like that this morning based on the price action. Just looking for your opinion on that.
I could see how it would affect the whole space theme. It's not SpaceX. So I don't. It's actually a competitor, so I don't think that necessarily harms this SpaceX IPO. But yeah, I think that's going to affect some of these space names, seeing as how we're in a race right now to get back to the moon and establish a base on the lunar surface, and Blue Origin is going to be one of those companies that helps that. So
what are you doing? This cat. What are you doing, man? Something's wrong. Like he's like extremely restless today. I have no idea what it is. All right, rolling through the chat here. Lion says, Ryan, now will most likely take 120 soon. Okay, what happened on now? Let's take a look here. Lion, this pulled back more. What's the, so you think, okay, so are you thinking it finds some support down here, 116.5? That's actually your 65 EMA, Lion. Let me know. I'm going to keep rolling through some more of these. MBOT being mentioned by thinking about it. It's great to see you again. Sorry we surprised you with a vacation. Cat senses the market top. Well, I hope that's not the case, JJ. Maybe.
Looks like STG is trying to turn around here. Still waiting for OLOX to unhalt. PRFX actually is looking like it's performing a little bit better than some of these other movers, still holding above its VWAP.
Is this PRFX? I'm sorry, I was reading the text from Anne-Marie.
Yeah, that was PRFX.
Her internet is back, by the way, 13, so we'll just play it by ear when we get there.
Okay.
That pullback is a buy on now. That's per Lion. Okay. Okay, we'll see if we get a bounce here. 117. I want to call it 116.5 to 117 is the pullback spot. But you tell me what number you would assign to that. But there's your profit-taking pull, and now you think it bounces from here. We'll see. We'll see if we get that. Okay, yeah. What else?
ASTC just been absolutely of a rocket since since the week started. But it was on the SpaceX launch and NASA conference. Just
now this is a new stock that we added to the space watch list theme, right? Yeah. ASTC. Mm-hmm. Okay. And this actually looks like this is going to try and take out the after hours highs there.
Looks like OLOX is open and heading lower.
SoFi trying to bounce a little bit. Again, 65 EMA, so we'll see if that works for now. Here's OLOX post-halt. This also coming into the 65 EMA.
And ASTC is actually in an upside halt now.
Indeed. Yep. And that halt time, by the way, 9:41:23 ASTC. All right. Let's check the penny stock hub C, the penny stock du jour. By the way, this big move in the SPY here did not trigger my indicator signal for an entry. So it was outside of the first trade window when it started moving. So didn't get anything on that. Here's Hub C. This is actually still holding near 40 cents. So maybe if this continues to hold here, it tries and goes higher. So here's Hood making more of a move here. Someone talked about Hood today. Ondas battle for 12. That's still coming in towards 12. I can't believe we got 13 yesterday. The price, by the way. But we'll see where this holds here. Again, to me, the big spot, 1165, if I had to assign a number. Lion, let's check in on your now. Oh, Lion, dude. Yo, okay, so props. Because I asked you specifically where the buy was, and you told me it was right at that support level, and this thing has just straight bounced from it. I don't even want to give you a register ring because I don't know if the trade's over, but I'm just going to say props on that. That was a really good call there on that buy spot for now.
SMCI likely rising in relationship with Dell.
Okay. SMCI is above its after hours highs as well. Captain Cloudy bought the Tesla dip. Anyone buying the Velo? Oh man, Velo smoked here, minus 11%.
Cool.
Ondas down 10%. So some of the high flyers from yesterday, a little bit of a regression back to the mean here today.
I mean,
Bitcoin, by the way, traded down to 73,000 and so far has bounced.
You can look at Velo's chart and see the past 3 days we were just kind of topping out, putting in some, like a bit of a topping out
Sure.
series of candles here before we started losing it. This could come back in some more. I don't know how much more. I wouldn't think a whole lot more. But we'll see. And it's just going to create another opportunity, I think. But I'm not a buyer just yet. Again, this has been a great series of trades.
Seeing a series of Palo Alto puts into the move higher here. And at the same time, I also saw a bunch of team call sweeps. That's Atlassian. Click on the right one here. Let's see what this is doing. Okay, so this pushed higher too. This actually might be going for 100.
Oh, nice. That one was getting hammered down too.
Which one? Team?
Yeah. So I think that's been on the recovery. Yeah. Really, I mean, if you look at a daily chart, this thing is looking spicy. I think this the way that this price action is playing out, it looks like we're headed to 115. And we're now getting a recovery here on OLOX.
Okay.
It's been really nice. So it halted down, shook out some of the weak hands, and now this thing is starting to go. It's looking for 11.
How's the spread on this? OLOX.
It's risky. It goes, but it's going to halt right now. It goes.
Yeah, it's going to halt here, 1078.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that earlier, 13. It was spread like 20 cents, and then it tightened up briefly, and then it spread out again. So,
Yep. It's just one of those ones you got to be careful with. But quite a nice little trade there.
Big B is mentioning that Broadcom is straight up. Jay Harris somewhere. I know he's not with us right now, but Jay Harris somewhere's got to be happy about this.
I mean, hell, I'm happy about it. I've been happy about AMD. I've been happy about Broadcom.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not done. And you know what? This has earnings in 5 days. So making new all-time highs going into earnings, a little bit concerning.
So do you want this to stop running over the next handful of days before it does its print here?
Well, I mean, I think it could just set up a take profit or sell the news event, regardless of how the earnings are.
Gotcha. Yep, gotcha. All right, BBAI. This is another one you folks were looking at here this morning. BBAI pulled back, tried to bounce. We'll see if that firms up. Space, SPCE. This is lower. What do you got?
BBAI. Look at a daily chart for that one. Maybe you might have to look at a weekly, but BBAI. I've been watching this one, and I traded it too. I don't have a position right now, but yeah. So if you zoom into like the price action of 2026. What is that pattern you see there?
What was the, sorry.
The price action of 2026. To zoom into the price action of 2026.
On the weekly.
Yeah.
This kind of looks like a cup.
Well, maybe on a daily chart it looks better, but I think that's an inverse head and shoulders pattern. But it could also be a cup.
No. Yeah. You're first, dude. This absolutely looks better on a daily. Absolutely looks better on a daily than a weekly. Here's your inverse head and shoulders.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that this might have some more room to go. Let me give a little measurement here because I know that it's going to see some slightly higher prints here. But let me just give you an estimate of how high. Let's take it right about there. I mean, I think we could. This could go up to 6. Another dollar from about here. Okay. So off the low, which was close to 3, I think this goes to 6. Maybe it goes even higher than that, but I think that at the very least we're going to see 6. Probably we'll see some tough movement through the 200-day SMA. That was a support turned resistance area, but I think that we're still going to end up seeing 6.
Okay, Trey says 660 question mark. So let's see where 660 is. Yeah, that looks good, Trey.
I could see that too. First things first, let's get to 6 and see what happens there. I certainly want to see what happens at the 200-day SMA, but I'm certainly on board with 660 if we can jump those hurdles there.
Lion. I need a lion roar sound for the soundboard. I've decided.
Just get the MGM lion roar.
That's what I'm. Is that going to be a copyright thing? If it's the MGM one, or should I just find like a generic stock one?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that either. I'll ask producer. I'll ask. The last thing I want is to have some fun, and then all of a sudden we're getting in trouble for something like that.
ASTC not done yet. 46.49 is the high. It came out of the halt and said, "Here I go."
And yeah, so Jonathan asking, did you guys see ASTC? We did. We talked about this. It wasn't even the first time today. We talked about this recently. We talked about this being another space name and also part of the space halo effect.
That's it. Waiting for OLOX to come out of this halt that it's been in for a little time now. But
NVIDIA calls went off. Sorry, 13 for interrupting.
Right. CMMD curling up. We didn't look at that one, but I did mention it because I thought it was worth keeping an eye on. It was one of the movers here this morning. Let's take a closer look at it right now. They traded higher after it filed its Japanese patent applications for proprietary compositions comprising 5-methyloxy-2 aminoindone for the treatment of depression. I probably butchered that name, but that's what the news is.
You gave it a shot, and I appreciate that. As someone that butchers drug names and stuff like that on a daily basis, I'm giving you props, 13. I'm giving you props.
Yeah, I have this 425 area as being a bit of a tough spot of resistance. We actually got that as resistance and support so far this morning, but now it's acting as resistance. But if we break over it, I think that we could continue back up to 5.
Lion, are we going to get your 120 call right here? 119.50 after your real supreme bounce spot call. Let me know what you think here now. This is, I'll tell you what, I am very, very impressed, Lion. I am very, very impressed with how good that call was, how spot on, and how it just immediately bounced.
ASTC is in another halt now, 48.25. Looks like 50 prints are coming.
Uh-oh.
50 prints are coming.
We are getting a rip here. By the way, SPY, so it did have that kind of power move. Looks like that has slowed down a little bit now.
CRM on a 5-minute looks like this is flagging to go higher. If it does, it looks like the breakout spot's going to be about 186. Let's look at a daily chart here and see what else. So after struggling to try and recapture the 50-day SMA.
Which one? Sorry?
CRM.
CRM.
Yeah, after struggling to recapture the 20 and 50-day SMAs, this is finally above it now. Let's see if we can actually close and hold above it for more than one day. It seems like that's all this really can muster lately. Above the 50-day SMA is one close. That happened on April 22nd. Since then, not really a meaningful close above the 50-month SMA, and because we were right back beneath it the next day.
Chris saying CRM is ridiculously undervalued. CRM will be at the forefront of sales-related AI. This also looks like it did a fairly good job holding this trend line in 13. I'm sure you have something similar, if not exactly the same, because this one is a long-term one that we look at.
That's exactly the trend line it's coming up off of.
Yep. Bingo.
And I think that's why this recapture of the 50-day SMA is so important. If we can get this in 2 more days where we close above the 50, I think that's going to give us the indication that more upside's coming or is already on its way.
Big B is saying it's also trading like a POS right now. Will Dell be the still going up boss? I don't think I know what you mean. Is it still going to be boss? Maybe that's what you mean. When's it going to stop? That could be what it means here. Dell, this to me seems extended.
I feel like people like Lion might even be looking at that, waiting for an opportunity to short it, because with a move like this.
Someone, it was at Acorns, mentioned Dell puts earlier. Acorns, tell me if I'm getting that right. And did you end up taking that trade? Velo trying to bounce, by the way, 13. So it's nice to see. Apple came off that 315 high. That was significant resistance there. So mark that spot.
Hey, thanks, Tom. Yeah, let's get some more likes hit here. Get some more likes.
Only now, you know what's disappointing about that is I actually I called earlier for us to try and set a like record while the producer is not here. And it looks like that didn't happen. And then Buffalo by Bicycle told me that the break might have messed up the algorithm. And so we actually need to do extra work to get that back. I'm going to go like the stream myself.
I'm looking at the 5-minute for Dell, and yeah, great run, kind of plateaued around 440, and it's just kind of been leaking all day. I think we could see some more upside if we get back above 430, but for right now, that seems to be the big spot of resistance, the 430 area.
Okay. MU is a beast. I trade options every day, a pure printing money machine. Ryan, do you remember when Spencer used to say he was going to cut the show early if it didn't hit a certain amount of likes? I do. I do. I'll tell you what. There have been a lot of people that have come and gone here at Benzinga. Spencer is the definition of a good guy. Definitely miss him. And it was a pleasure to work with him. He was
the first one I talked to, actually.
Was it really? Oh, that's an awesome trivia question.
I reached out to them through email, and we talked, and I actually gave him that. Remember when BlackBerry first took off back in 2020?
Yeah.
I got him on that one. And so we enjoyed that little run in BlackBerry. But
okay.
That was it was the first one I reached out to, and we talked for a little bit.
Westcap saying, is Anne Marie on today? Yes, she is. She is scheduled. She had internet issues earlier, but it looks like she's back. So I am cautiously optimistic, Westcap, that the internet is not going to get in the way of having Anne Marie on today. By the way, she also has Comcast like I do. So if we don't end up getting her, please direct the anger at Comcast like I did all of last week.
If we hit 500 likes, Ryan's going to buy himself a Starlink.
I would do that if I could get BZ to pay for the monthly subscription. I would do that. We could even make that a contest here.
It might even save you money to go that route. I don't know what you're paying, but
too much is what I'm paying. I'll be honest. If AT&T was available here, I'd already have switched.
Looks like we're getting a little bit more weakness in some of these names. Nice to see that Chewy's coming back up.
So maybe that's why Buddy was screaming. He was watching the birds, though, so maybe it was something else. By the way, who just mentioned Figma here? Reggie, look at the Figma bounce. This also kind of reminds me of now, right? We pulled back down to the pre-market low area. I guess now was a little bit higher. Nice little bounce here on Figma. Bounce up off of the VWAP.
Forsman mentioning that Mara is ripping. This is having a good morning. It dipped down to 1369. Now it's ripping past 1424.
A lot, Ryan. What are you saying? I'm not a good guy? No, I didn't say that. You are. You're a good guy for the most part. I like messing with Ryan. He likes to play back, which I think is fun. Whoa, NVIDIA, sorry for getting distracted there. Massive multiple NVIDIA call sweeps. I guess they're not, I guess all of them together are massive. Looks like the biggest one was about 170K, but this is more repeat call sweeps. NVIDIA is still at the highs. Call sweepers still playing there.
We were getting a question here. Vaughn Rivera was asking, Ryan 13, can you take a look at IBM?
You know what though?
Okay.
We here, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take a look at IBM, but we're also going to fold in Reaching Financial Freedom suggestion here. Just 94 likes. Let's put some pressure on folks. 30 seconds of silence to see those likes go up. So 13, you just go ahead and go off here. Do your thing.
back in the end of 2025. So that would be the thought I would have here on IBM. We are going to go higher. I can totally see 300, but I think that we're going to maybe deal with a little bit of a chop as there's going to be some sellers up here trying to exit.
It's a trap. Oops, I hit the wrong one. Sorry. By the way, I did mute us. I did mute us for a little bit, just because we don't have the likes that we need. But nonetheless, also I have to that registering bank at Lion. I'm coming back to you. Here's the chart 13 that you were just talking about. The pop, the gap above the 200, right up towards the trend line.
Yeah, and we're also pretty extended here, so I don't think there's a whole lot more upside to go before we're going to see some cooling off here. We just need to have that 200-day SMA hold up while we cool off. And I think that's really what I'd be watching for with IBM. We're extended. It needs to cool off. Let's let that happen. Don't want to lose the 200-day SMA.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff there. Ryan, is Trump going to speak today? I have no idea, dude. I would imagine he doesn't like to go a whole day without talking. So I would imagine that that's the case, but I don't know for sure. But Lion, more importantly than Trump right now, your register ring. Let's just bask in the magnificence of the register ring and the call that Lion gave. Because right now, come on, load here. Lion's call was to buy this at 116 and change. It's actually a little bit lower, 116 and a half. And he said, now is going to go towards 120 right now. He literally said that. And we looked at the chart and I said, okay, we'll see. And lo and behold, it did exactly what Lion said. Another registering as we're above 120 here. 4-point move, Lion, called live here on the show.
STG just had a nice reversal off the 200 EMA, and it's trying to recapture the 65. That was another good trade. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, because I have this little note here that it says that the host muted my mic.
I did. Yeah, that was before when we were punishing people for not giving us likes. That was at this point minutes ago.
Yeah, I didn't know that it was off because it didn't go away.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
It was saying it was still muted.
I gotcha. My apologies. My apologies. Kudos. Yeah. So, and guys, just to be clear, because the things changed here, YouTube changed all the handles. Lion is Hamid 30.
Yeah. OLX. I'm just going to say OLX is pulling back.
OLX. Yeah, that's way easier.
Maybe a buy at the daily pivot of 767. I'll look at that just at one tick. ASTS has halted the downside. It went to 49.49 in reverse, and now it's halted at the VWAP. Let me look at the OLOX here. I think first you're going to see support at either the 65 EMA or 880. And you're asking about 767. It's interesting. I have a support line drawn at 765. So I don't think that your spot is off base at all. As a matter of fact, it's very close to the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. So if we do end up going down there, it looks like that could be a support area. I don't know. It's going to also depend on how the market's behaving and how all this price action is shaping up when we do get down there. If it looks like we're just kind of beelining for lower prints, then it's not going to be a support. But I do like the area. Let's see if we can get support from 880 first.
Okay, good stuff there, Olax. Selena mentioning that Palantir is still going. We talked about the power candle out of the open. Took a little bit of a break and is resuming higher. Palantir higher by 8% here today.
Coming up to a test of that, what we talked about it earlier, 160 and the 200-day SMA. Those are the big resistance levels we're coming up to right now.
I'm going to read this just because it's comical and it's Friday, and I think everyone should have a big smile and a laugh here. And it was a really good call, so Lion's kind of bought himself some good grace here. Ryan, I feel this thing in my bones. I wake up early today, I check the jungle, and every lion in my kingdom starts roaring. And I said to myself, it's going to be a great hunting day.
Okay, Mufasa.
I truly believe that we have the greatest group of people that show up here, volunteer every day to show up here. It makes my day. Lion, you are 1 in 10 million, Lion. By the way, your now call here, this is now a 5-point intraday trade.
Kilborn, Chris, mentioning that Robinhood now a complete checking savings brokerage account with brokerage accounts, new agentic credit taking. So one of the big reasons why Hood and BNY have been moving recently is because on Wednesday afternoon, Scott Bessent had mentioned that the Trump accounts, the app was going to be available, and sure enough, yesterday both Hood and BNY ran on that the app becoming available because they're both going to be the ones that are managing it. So I think that's the Trump accounts are all going through those two companies. So
and window dressing today, inflows Monday.
that's right.
So I was being asked here about Dell. Let me find the comment. Mang Fang, that is an awesome handle. Hey Ryan, do you think Dell will pass over 451.95, which was its all-time high, all-time high overnight? So basically, what you're saying is, do you think we take out the pre-market highs? Well, I would say this. This looks like we had a little bit of a profit take here, and it's going to try and move back higher. If this thing is indeed going through a short squeeze, I think it is very possible that this gets ripped down today. And I also want to point this out. I'm actually disappointed in myself, Kenneth. Kenneth is reminding Lion that tigers are in a jungle, not lions, which is also rather amusing. Thank you, Kenneth. Lion is still the king, though. No kings except for Lion. We'll call him Mufasa from now on.
Yeah, I mean, Dell's, it was already extended before this earnings print, and since then it just became even more extended. If you look at an intraday chart, this thing, not intraday, but like a 5-minute, look at the price action when we were topping out. That doesn't look great. And it looks like this could still, maybe there's support at, 400 to 405. We kind of got that already. But I think that we could see the underside of 400, but we're still going to go higher. I just think that we're going to have a period of selling, maybe some cooling off that takes us under 400, but I think we're going to come right back above it and go higher. But we just need to cool off first.
Okay. And then Lion here registering on now. That was really awesome. Trey says, boom. What are you booming about, Trey? And then several of you talking about the penny stock du jour Hub C. Which is up a whopping 254% now. Retro riding F like a Bronco. This thing had, I smack talked penny plays yet again today as I normally do, and this thing has been going vertical. In fact, I'm just gonna congrats to anyone that was trading Hub C here today, because most of you should all be in profit.
I'm not trading that one, but hey, look at this. ASTC says, you know what? I still want 50, and it's trying to climb back up there. A couple other ones that are. I'm waiting for Ionic to really get hammered down because I want to get a good price on this. I think this is going to be another one of the good ones. It's Ionic, Inflection, and whenever it comes out, Continuum.
Yeah. I want to shout this out real quick. Sean saying, I sold my Hub C way too early and then added great trade. And I think this is a key takeaway here. We're never going to hit the bottoms and the tops. If you make a good trade that's profitable, even if the stock goes higher, it's still a great trade. In hindsight, could you have done better? Well, sure. But I would advise that you don't live your life looking through hindsight and constantly thinking what you could have done better in the past, unless you can apply that going forward. Sean, the way I would say this, great trade, bro. Profit is profit.
Yep.
What are you doing?
So one of the names I'm watching, or not watching, but I'm in, and I asked you about it a while back, and even asked if maybe Tim Melvin could chime in. But Resolve AI still slowly climbing, and if their guidance is to be believed, then this is probably undervalued. So that's one of them that I'm just going to see how high it goes. Chewy's looking great. That's recovering off of getting hammered down. Aurora Innovation, that's also up again. It had a really nice day yesterday before selling.
Thanks, Ryan. Get me to a golf course so I can forget about it. Just tell me which one you're at, buddy.
And I saw a pretty interesting headline. I didn't read the article yet, but I saw a headline this morning about BlackBerry being the operating system for physical AI robotics. We talked about this, with their QNX platform. We talked about this, earlier this month. This has been on just a massive run, and it's one of the things I've been waiting for, because I talked a lot about how we needed to see a big move over that 50-month SMA on BlackBerry, because there's 10 years of history that shows that it will go on a big run if it can get a large move through that moving average. Sure enough, that's what we had last month, and we're beelining for 10, I would say.
Corey says, Ryan, Big Cedar Golf is in our backyard, almost literally. I wish I would have known that. I was just in Branson. I was really, really close to you. I'll keep you posted. If you ever want to put me up for nothing so I can golf there, we could talk about that too. Real quick, sorry, I want to get to this. Dave saying, I know you don't like SMCI, but it looks like a short squeeze. Any thought? You are correct. Neither of us like it in terms of wanting to own it, but that does not preclude us from looking at it here. I know sometimes I joke, but that's the other thing. Despite us not liking it, this thing has actually been a pretty good trade in the sense that it moves, and it moves off of technicals. And here again, you got a move in the after hours, a little bit of a regression back to the mean, and another move higher. Now, as far as the short squeeze comment that you gave here, here's what the short interest actually looks like. 18%, not quite high. And in fact, we have seen not too long ago, this thing was technically high, meaning above 20% of the float shorted. Days to cover has also come in too. So 1.78 days to cover. So I'm not confident in saying that there's a squeeze here, at least not right now. And I would also want to highlight Brian's comment here. The reason we don't, it's not as if we just don't like it for no reason. We like it or we don't like it for pretty good reasons. The guy was backdooring to China. So if you have kind of an overall bearish sentiment, I understand wanting to short only. Looking at it from a trading vehicle perspective, Dave, I mean, what technicals are you looking for on this?
With this one,
go ahead.
With this one, it does have some short interest, 18%. I think that's helping it along, but I don't think that's what's driving it. What's driving it is Dell's earnings. This is pretty much they pretty much do the same thing Dell does. Dell's just got way more channels and they're more into the supply chain, and they have other products. They don't just service the enterprise, they service consumers too. But I think that's the real big reason this is moving. It's moving because of Dell's server business. This is a server business. It's a relationship trade, and that elevated short interest is helping it along. So I'm not saying that it's not the short interest that's driving it. It's helping it along. I think what's driving it is the Dell earnings.
Okay. Also, we do have this, on this push higher here. It did kind of increase the volume, but then also today, like you guys are saying, volume does seem to be higher. By the way, 13, you had addressed a chart issue yesterday in Pro. Mm-hmm. I got word, I reported it when you gave that to me yesterday. I got word that has been fixed today. So let me know if you've noticed that or if there's something else that I can do for you.
Okay, well, I can look at that.
You don't have to do it right now, just anytime. But I just you reminded me right there because I reminded myself because I was looking at it.
Yeah, well, I'll get back to you on that then.
Yep, no worries.
I'm being asked about Zscaler.
Ticker ZS?
Yeah. Did they just have earnings? Because they gapped down from Tuesday to Wednesday. Let me look and see here.
I gotcha.
Looks like they did.
Earnings were on May 26th. That was 3 days ago.
So looks like they didn't impress on guidance, even though they raised it. It doesn't look like the sales guidance really resonated because I'm looking at their Q4 sales expectations are, and it's below the estimate. So I think that's one of the reasons why you're seeing this come back in. Had earnings beat, had a sales beat, but I think that there's a magic number that was expected and we didn't get it. Now it could also, that would be my my first thought here. Let's look at the chart, because we're kind of creating a little bit of a, it looks like the start of a bear flag. If we can't recapture, I would say, the 50-day SMA, maybe even the 20-day SMA, then I think we're going to see this resolve lower.
What value do you have for that?
The 50-day SMA, I have 143.44.
Okay, yeah. So that's good.
That's where I'd be at right now. If we can't get back above that moving average, I think we'll see some lower prints. No, I didn't trade blue for Ford. The cattle batteries. I've got mixed feelings about cattle. I know that they also supply Tesla batteries. I think that's only in China, but I'm not sure. I'm just not completely on board with cattle. I know that they're a big battery manufacturer, and a lot of people like to say they're the best in the world. But when you see the number of battery fires that are happening in China, to the point that they don't even allow EVs in parking garages anymore because they don't want the whole building to burn down, it's concerning. I'm not completely on board with cattle being the biggest and best battery maker. I know they're massive. I know they make a lot of batteries, but I have real concerns about their quality. So that's about as much as I can go with discussion on Ford and the battery deal. But it's something I'm going to have to look into, and I still haven't yet. So I'm sorry.
Velo minus 13%, Ondas minus 10%. Some of these small caps that have moved that were pretty high flyers getting punished here today. A little regression back to the mean. Boy, am I glad I trimmed calls on Ondas yesterday and booked some gains. S&P, by the way, set a new all-time high here, 758.08, pulled back from that all-time high. It's actually battling at VWAP right now. S&P futures are still above VWAP, so it might have a little bit ways to go if it finds a bounce there.
PRFX is trying to get back above the VWAP again. And Retro, if F hits 20, then I will dump a third of my shares purchased at 9. That's fantastic. I still got my, I had some old targets on here. I had 750 as a target, and we didn't quite get down there. We only got down to like 850. And then I also have $20 as a long-term target. I've had that out there for what feels like a few years now. And it looks like it's still possible, $20. Although I don't know that I'd only do a third. I think for me, $20 would be my exit target. But that's just me. I think we're both on the same page as having $20 as a target. I think it's entirely possible. Christoph, I think you're pretty right on there. But I think there's a lot more. There's a lot of nuance to that as well. But I think you're spot on.
Your PRFX here, I've got VWAP 484, got it at 488 in my broker. It actually looks like it's doing its best to hold above this. It actually just kind of flashed a curl, so we'll see if we do that. What do you have?
Yeah, mine is 498, so we just got a rejection.
Joe here saying, I trimmed Ondas yesterday. Also good trade, Joe. This is a good way to trade. You have been watching this for a while. You notice that it likes to pop and drop a lot. So I love the fact that you're trimming when we have days like we did yesterday where the thing just trades higher. I think that's super smart. Getting close to my buy zone at 1170. That's right above the 1165 area that we said we needed it to hold. I'll expect we'll soon get more drone news than the Wall Street Journal reported. Ondas wasn't even mentioned explicitly. That's my thought too. I think we're going to get more news. I am hoping we get one of those pieces of news that mentions it directly by name with maybe some future plans. I think if that happens, giddy up. We are in good shape. But good job on your trim yesterday. That was good timing. How's our penny stock Hub C doing? Bro, this is still holding near highs. Congrats to everyone that played this today. You guys were right. I was wrong. Market, by the way, the S&P futures coming into its VWAP here. SPY obviously moving through the VWAP more. We'll see if the market can bounce here. 756 on the SPY.
All these names, like all this stuff that was having a great, great week, really coming in. Not everything, but a lot. Like Bello really coming in too. That's fine. Give me another opportunity. Just give it to me.
I wanted Larry Bird on this. I wanted 33 on Velo.
I think you'll still get it.
Yeah, I just have to be more patient. No, you're right. I just need to be more patient. That's all. You're keeping your Ondas September calls. Mine were the 18 Septembers. Those are the ones I'm kind of trading, Lion. I'm back down to my core position. I added when it went lower, and we sold those at a pretty big gain. So I've done what you did, right? I've made this position free. They could go to zero. Those calls could go to zero, and I would have still made money off of them or close to break even. But I'm going to hold them too. I'm like Joe. I think we get some more news. I don't think it's necessarily tied to Israel, although maybe that'll help. But I do think we get more news on that, and I think we see a big pop. And Lion, I agree. Weekend, never a bad idea to take some profit. What do you got, 13?
Well, just reiterating that Aluza's mentioning that Bella was down. Oh yeah, and that's fine. I sold a lot of this this week, and just have like a bit of a marker position. I'm waiting for a lower print so I can buy some more again. I love the stock.
Yeah, I did not have enough of it to sell a bunch. I sold some at 20, but did not have enough of it to really sell a bunch. That's okay, though. We can be patient with the remainder here.
Yeah.
PRFX is still holding its VWAP, so maybe that will continue to curl. Let's roll through some of the other stocks that we were looking at here today. REPL, this is not really doing much, although it is staying above its VWAP. How's Now doing? How's the big cap winner from today? Okay, so Lion, also a pretty good sell on that. I don't think you top ticked it, but boy, oh boy, did you get close. It's a really good trade from start to finish. Calls live here in the chat. Gotta be here. Gotta be here. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Lion is trying to help us get more likes by giving such actionable trading plans here in real time. So you can smash up the like for Lion too if you want. Nice, Joe. So you're holding the lower call or the lower strike price. You sold the higher ones. Look, that was a good move. That was a good trade, Joe. I think you got this figured out. G-Man, appreciate this. If you believe a pullback in Now is on a good spot is 120. So if Now can hold 120 here on this pullback, that's actually the 9 EMA. That's actually at 120.15. Maybe we'll get a reload on that one. 8 minutes till Anne-Marie. Her light is green, so I think we're going to be good to go.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we're going to continue to see some of those movers, those runners, just kind of leak some more. So I think that some of those short ETFs might be a good idea for day trades. Looks like, there was a mention of WebCoin, OLX still trying. It's looking like it is. It's trying to get back over my VWAP. I have that at 1028.
OLX, I'll tell you what, if this hangs out here right around 10 and doesn't really show a whole lot of weakness despite the volume kind of compressing, perhaps you get a midday or afternoon pop. Wis, this is a good question. How do you think the market does next week with the PDT rule change? I'll tell you what, Wis, right on the surface, like my gut response to that, I think there are going to be people that are looking to trade, and I think we're going to see some now, I don't know if I feel good about a specific direction because I don't know if the PDT rule is going to determine a direction. I am hoping that we see some elevated volume, and I think we're going to see some more kind of volatility, especially in these movers names, and especially in some of the names like Hub C, right? Like these penny stocks, like you're going to have people that don't have a whole lot of funds that are going to be looking for low-priced instruments, and they're going to be able to day trade back and forth. So I think you're going to see some of these lower-priced stocks have higher volume. Wis, I know what you're asking. So just in the sake of answering your question, My call is that the market is going to be slightly higher. That maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's kind of where I am sitting here today, feeling today. I think it's going to be a little bit higher. Ed says it's going to fly. Lion says, if I'm in here and not helping the group, then I don't need to be here. I mean, look, Lion, I would say this is there. You say some funny things. You have some good insights on some things. So I wouldn't take it too hard, but we really appreciate that you help. Get in there, 13. I'm sorry, man. I'm just yapping.
I'm just a little concerned that all that liquidity is what is going to be needed for a lot of these larger positions to be exited. And I think that's, I just have some concerns that we could see some selling with that added liquidity. We keep talking about a market top. We just had remember our conversation in happy hour about how we have gentlemen in Taiwan. There's people coming up to him trying to practice their English and saying, "Oh yeah,
that was wild. Yeah,
just invest in the American stock market. I can't lose. It just goes up.
It's impossible to lose.
It's impossible to lose." That is a very, very loudspeaker moment for me when you have some rando saying you can't lose in the market. So I think that's very indicative that we're at a spot where we could see some accelerated selling next week following that monthly inflow.
Yep, I think you were right on that.
And we also have we're seeing some signs about the Bank of Japan and South Korea reducing leverage availability. The way that Japan's been doing this is they've kind of effectively are forcing the yen carry trade unwind. They're raising their rates, which is making borrowing harder. Additionally, South Korea is also putting restrictions onto how much household debt one household can have. So that affects mortgage borrowing as well. So there are some leverage restrictions that are being imposed in some of these countries, and I think it could really harm the liquidity in the market. It's something that pulled markets down before.
Yep. Real quick here, Big B's, I saw your comments come through here. We were in the middle of a conversation there, so I'm sorry. We've got a lot of movement. The Qs are sliding and the SPY is sliding. Look at this move on SPY. It basically round tripped that pop out of the open.
And hold on a second. Rigetti's still climbing, or RGTZ is still climbing. That's one of the ones I'm trading here because the quantum names are starting to weaken a bit here. So thought that was a good one to use. It's always been a really good one to trade on quantum weakness.
Microsoft. Several of you folks were talking about Microsoft. We also talked about this really kind of needing to hold 400 recently. It looks like it's done that 440 test here today. By the way, so that we just showed the SPY there. S&P futures trying to recapture the VWAP as we speak. That would be step one and maybe moving back higher here. If this pop doesn't hold the open, I have puts on watch. Okay, so you're saying so let me go back to SPY. Let me just and correct me here, Big B's, if I'm misreading your trade plan here. But you're saying if the open, so this opening price here on SPY, let's call it 755.5, might be slightly different. You're saying if this doesn't hold, you're going to flip and look for puts intraday. I like that, though, because this is an if-then, right? If this happens, then you're going to do this. I like that. I like it. Man, Ondas continues to pull here. 1177. Please hold 1165. Please. We'll see if we get a late day bounce. We sometimes get that, too. Westcap, we love you, man. Have yourself a great weekend. And 13, it looks like we are GTG with Anne-Marie here. She is backstage and looking good, so we should be all right. Do you have any closing words for the group?
Well, we get our first full week back next week, so it'll be fun to hang out with y'all then. But make sure you guys are protecting yourself over the weekend. We don't know what kind of news is going to break out here. So just be careful. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend and have fun with Anne-Marie. I'll see everybody on Monday. Goodbye.
All right. 13 really good stuff here this week. Thanks for everything. We'll see you on Monday. Take care, buddy.
Take care.
All right. That is 13. Good job. As always, he leaves room for Anne-Marie. Tom says, bring on the option goddess. Asking you shall receive. Here comes Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, how you doing? You like that?
Yes, of course I do.
Tom has a very high opinion.
What woman wouldn't want to be called a goddess? Come on.
Well, it's also your chosen profession, which you have been extremely good at, is being recognized. So to me, that's really awesome stuff. Okay, Anne-Marie, it's good to see you. Happy Friday. I'm glad your internet. Just so you're aware, I spent a lot of last week bashing, a lot of the early part of last week bashing Comcast. So I'm in your corner. If you need the muscle, you just let me know. We'll take care of that.
I'll count on you for that.
Okay. Yeah. You want to share your screen?
Oh, absolutely. Sorry about that.
No, you're totally fine there. Von Rivera says, I like Madam Butterfly.
You know, that was a man. You know,
Okay.
that was a man. I just, you do know the story of Madame Butterfly. That was a man.
Okay, there you go, Von. Be careful. We won't hold it against you. Anne-Marie, let's get this train back on the tracks here. What do you got for us?
Well, I was just looking at Rigetti because everyone had been talking about it a little bit, and we can see that we've had two very big volume days. So I'm not quite sure if any of your guests have talked about month end and this month end liquidity, but I loved what 13 said about something to pay attention to for next week and us seeing a pull in the market. And so what we've seen in this month end is all of a sudden a deal came out. Prices started moving. We breached the call wall in a couple of places. And so there's been a chasing of the wall up in a lot of the market space. So most of the wise/prudent portfolio managers coming into the end of the month have probably unwound by this morning. And so there might be a few that might unwind a little more, and I would see higher prices here. But I too expect us to sort of roam around this topping edge for a little bit and have some mean reversion. So with that said, we want to look for extreme strength that we can buy on a pullback. And, you know, what do we have is extreme. We know these guys are doing really well. Oracle has just, man, did it catch a bid. But all of these things, I think, are really overpriced anyway. And so there is a lot of space for us to say, wait a second. If we start losing the VWAP across the board, especially towards the end of today, we want to think about a little bit of conservative pricing. So let's frame that in terms of SPY. Sorry about all that noise.
I actually can't even hear it.
Oh, okay. All right. So we've got SPY. We know we've got brand new highs and we've come off of them. The problem is we have momentum drift that's, for the 30-minute chart, it's not tremendous like it was yesterday. Yesterday morning, we came in and just rallied to the races. Here, we are higher, but our momentum is lower. This gives us a clear signal that we've got divergent action. So what happens with divergent action when we have these very strong upward motions? it's pullbacks into support that give us buying frameworks. And so what we want to do is look at these buying frameworks, and they exist in two places. My thought is at 754, the pivot potentially, but more important than that, I think it's right around that 750 space. So two clear ways we can move, certainly further to the upside, or we can break down into buying areas. So I've got an anchored VWAP, that's what this orange line is, off of the largest volume of the 120 days past, the largest 30-minute volume formation. So I put an anchored VWAP. It's very close to the 200. And so my gut says that we rotate down and then rise again. So we're going to have some jagged motion. But the question is, how do you want to play that? Do you want to get in front of it? We don't really want to get in front of it because we're not breaking any. We're not, I mean, even the, and I feel very terrible drawing a trend line because we know I'm hideous at it, but we're holding a very clean trend line to the top. What I would say is, if we look at some stocks today and we have this clean trend line, we take it, we let it see how it runs into the end of the day, maybe the next few days, and then we cut it if it happens to, fail. Problem is, over the weekends, we have these things that happen, news bombs, XYZ kind of bombs, and the market pulls back. And so my thought would be trade with that in mind. And there's a fair bit of caution. So what I'd like to do is maybe just get some really quick strike events that we can trade intraday. So let's work on the SPY, right? So we anticipate that there is a ledge potentially here at around 755. So if we suspect 755 is going to hold as our baseline, then we have the simple choice of buying next week's, and it would be on Monday. We'd be able to look at it. It would be Friday with the expiry, right? No, sorry, I'm in Micron there. Forgive me. SPY. All right, so we have, this one is Monday. Let's give it until Wednesday. Let's say Tuesday. Let's say June 2nd. And so we do the 755 still in the money. 755, 759 call spread. That's almost 50%.
Emery,
if it gives us yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, my dear.
She already knew. Richard, she already knew. All I had to do was interrupt her. She didn't even need me to finish. She knew what was going on. And all of us that use Thinkorswim know the ropes. Sometimes we just forget. That's all.
Yes, that's true. So here we have a debit for a little bit over $2. It's got a $4 spread on it. And so if we continue to move up with trend, that'll be very nice trade. Now, let's say that we sort of sit a little bit landlocked and we get down to our 750, 749. We could do the same sort of thing and we can sell that spread, and it gives us a little bit of cushion for that $2 formation. If price fades, we're going to have to roll it or cover it for a loss. Now, if it were me, I have to say, full disclosure, I am quite bearish. I'm quite bearish. And so my suspicion is that we potentially give back everything we've had over the last couple of days, And indeed, I would not be surprised to see us fill the gap from Monday when the markets were closed in the US, but price action continued. So that would be my thought. I would not sell a put spread. What I might do is buy a put spread 750, 745. It's 66 cents, right? So it's really cheap. And we get to say, you know what, this thing will get cheaper and cheaper as we end up talking with each other. Let me just change that setting one more space so we can actually
Sure.
see the dollar amount, but have it bigger. So what we have is a chance to, wait until it gets to 755 and then see if it will bounce there. If not, you go ahead and buy the 750, 745 put into Tuesday. This one, 60 cents, 66 cents for a $500 upside, for a $5 upside. That's nice. And if it turns out to be a nothing burger, you come in on Monday, it might be cut in half, right? So essentially that's what we would end up looking for. The big picture is upward pressure. And so the dips will get bought, but we could have ourselves a pretty solid flush simply because the volume that we've run up on is very shallow.
Yeah.
It's very, very shallow volume.
And Anne-Marie, so this is all really good. What's happening simultaneously while you're going through this? There's a number of folks talking about, seeing a correction, a pullback is warranted, things are extended here, and all of that is true. I think more so than anything else, the fact that this breakout, blue sky breakout move higher happened on low volume is what gives me the most amount of trepidation, more than whatever happens in the Middle East, because I think that die has already been cast. It's just a matter of time. But the extension, the move higher here, it almost just kind of use an analogy. It's almost like you're holding on to this balloon that has a whole bunch of helium in it. And as soon as you let it go, it might go up a little bit, but it's going to be all over the place. And you might have a quick elevator move down. And that's my
excellent
big
analogy.
thing. Yeah.
Excellent analogy. Excellent analogy. So they aren't going to go without a fight.
Yeah.
I think. And the canary in the coal mine for me is always Bitcoin, right? And so I use micro Bitcoin quite a bit here. And let me go to an hourly chart so it's not so noisy. Ooh, see the fade. Yeah. So this is liquidity available to the market. And although we have stealth QE going on, the market is continuing to leak in places where I normally see, if everybody's healthy, price action moves to the north, including this. And this has not been doing well. Now, in full transparency of both sides, we can see that we still have upward trend, but we could still dip for a bit, come back down into 70,000 before it starts running again. So be careful in terms of thinking, because it's so organized. UBS came out, was it UBS? Came out and said, hey, listen, we're looking at 8,000 on the SPX. And I'm like, yeah, that all feels timed. And so remember, the weakest hands in the market are going to be retail traders because our stack is not as big. We just have to remember that. It's not because we're dumb. We're not dumb money anymore. But our stack can't hold the drawdown. So when you sit in that space and you go, hey, wait a second, if I'm going to have a drawdown, I better cut while I can. And to me, that's, it's really, really important to pay attention to things that look liquid that are supposed to be liquid than not. The next thing is, look at how low the VIX is. The last time we were this low, and this is the tradable VIX, right? The last 1, 2, 3 times we were this low, it rocketed off of the floor. So this is a clear old bounce zone. Will it mean something? Potentially, it might mean something, but my thought is, did I have a trade go off? Hang on 2 seconds, folks.
Yep, no problem.
I just heard something.
I am thinking about this VIX trade here. By the way, real quick, we have had a green day all morning here in the SPY. We are about to go green to red. We are basically at unchanged here.
Yeah. And that's pretty important to realize. If we go green to red and we don't hold the pre-market lows, we're going to have trouble. So our pre-market lows, that's 75.73 in the ES. What is it in SPY? Nothing wrong with hopping on a put spread, a cheap put spread. Remember, 750 is where it should end up. So if you have something if you buy this one, it's up 10 cents already. But if you buy this one, you don't really expect it to get to 750. You expect it to get to 751, maybe 752. If it shoots the moon, awesome. Otherwise, you're going to end up with something that's, 2x, 3x, as opposed to, 4x and some change. So there's really nothing wrong with doing that for yourself, to be fair, because we are going to see a little bit of give back. What's very interesting is that this year, the seasonality curve has been shifted forward, because all of the trading, we were supposed to have dips early to mid-May.
Yeah.
And those dips have not come. And so the curve is shifted forward. And here we are in June. Could it be mid-June? Could it be early June? Something like that. But these seasonality flows, they're real and they have to be watched, but they can shift, and they can shift in meaningful ways if the market's being gamed. So,
well, if we have a shift there and the seasonality turns negative, then Lion, one of our chat members here, has been calling for a summer sell-off recently, and that seems to me that would line up quite well with the shifted seasonality curve. So,
yes, indeed.
And 13, another good mention here. We noticed the seasonality shift forward during Christmas. The Santa rally actually came early, so we've seen this recently.
Yes,
so that's a good mention.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we just have to be careful. Now you can see it breaking the trend line. So the first bounce that fails, then you go buy your put spread, or you stick it out there and see if you can get it for 50 cents versus 63 cents or whatever. That's a nice trade that can work for a couple of days. You might even want to do it for Wednesday. Let's see if it's how much. No, it's a little bit more expensive on Wednesday, but you could still, if we bounce from here, which we should, because an upward trend, when broken, brings buyers at the floor. It'll always bring buyers at the floor unless it's a new sell-off, and then it brings buyers at the second floor. But the bounce up here, giving us the rotation down, that's really the best space for us to get involved in the trade.
Okay.
All right. Who wants to talk about whatever?
Who wants to talk about whatever? Boy, that is some open ends right there. I'll tell you that. Did someone suggest we take a look at a stock earlier? No, that was earlier this morning. Okay. Amber, I think we've got a kind of an open floor here. I'm sure someone will suggest one in the next couple of seconds.
Okay,
Here, but,
so
I will pick whatever you need.
my thought is that Oracle a little long in the tooth.
Okay.
So a reversion to the mean, nothing dramatic, but a reversion to the mean, potentially into the pivot, not out of the question. If we take a look at the big picture, this is, what is this? Moving average. I think that's a 200. See, yep, it is. It's a 200 moving average. It's come right into it, up in the edge of the measured move. So I am a big fan of a short here. So let's see how cheap we can get this. We use the 5th. All right, so if we do a 215, 210, listen, we're not going to get, you're going to have to pay up to play in these sorts of environments, or we could try the butterfly, 215 to 205 to 190. You know, that's 162, but the 215 to 210, 213, it's a little bit more, but it's a lot less hassle. And if it actually comes back, where do I think this thing is going to come back to? Flows suggest easily it comes back to 190. So if you say, hey, maybe I'll use, instead of 215 as my spread, maybe I'll do 205 to 200. And that's, 119, 120. So a couple of different ways that you can do that, still targeting 205 as the zone. And you could get it a little cheaper. Remember, price action is going to bounce off of these floors. Take a look. We're going to go right back to SPY, and we're going to see just how price action behaves in an upward trending formation. Look at this wick. It was all the way down here, right up to the top. And, these guys end up, this one for June the 3rd is now 78, 79 cents instead of 86. So put something out there, 65 cents, and give it a go. I don't think it's unreasonable to anticipate a pullback under this kind of volume at all. Well,
Yeah, sorry. I want to see. I noticed that we have a pretty big move happening here in the SPY, but I don't see anything to attribute it to.
it's just reflexive action right now. I don't think any of this is newsy. I think this is all repositioning market action.
Okay.
Am I
No,
gone?
you're good. You're good. It was just a little hiccup there from Comcast. We've come to expect it now. All right. Can we do Hood?
Yeah.
Ed had asked nicely for Hood, and then if we have time, GLD for Josh.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Oh, Richard, I missed APLD. Guys, I'm sorry. I can't get to all of them. Let's at least start with Hood here.
Yes. Okay, so here's Hood earnings. Very nice. Notice what happens with our earnings candles. We have the breach out of the range. It moves up by a target, comes back, tests the high of the earnings candle, and then rockets to the north. So where might this be going? Now, I don't know if this is catalyst related. I don't know if Hood has any relative news, but it potentially feels, well, and let's have a gander. Here's the last high. And then here's this high. So it's got trend and motion on it. My thought is that it's pretty likely to have itself a bit of a collapse zone The 200 is very far above us. Let's see where the 100 is. I don't love the 100, but let's give it a go. This one is, it's hard to say. It truly is. It's hard to say. Go ahead.
Real quick, you were talking about Hood. We've got a couple of things here that might serve as catalysts. Number one, next week we get the PDT rule thrown in the garbage can. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people on Robinhood that are probably fighting that thing. They might end up trading more, perhaps more trading volume. But the other thing, and we discussed this earlier with 13, Robinhood is involved with the Trump accounts. So Robinhood, this is per Reuters and Bloomberg, Robinhood is going to oversee the accounts. They are going to act as a broker, trustee, help build the app, and provide customer support. Now, I don't know if these are going to be catalysts or not, but these are two near-term things that are going on with Hood right now.
Yeah. Okay. So my thought is that sounds a little bit like a fluff piece that's going to drive the bottom line. Now, could it increase the amount of revenue they get from flows? Could people that are in the I'll do anything he does camp go over there? Yes, absolutely. But think about all the guys and gals that said, hey, dude, let's go long Hood at 137 bucks. Right? What are they going to do if they start seeing any kind of recovery? My thought is they're going to run for the hills.
Remorseful buyers. We just heard that from Mark Putrino this morning. Absolutely.
Exactly. And so my thought is that this 91 area is a great zone to put an alert. If it gets above 91, listen, the 200 simple moving average is flat. It's up there. It's near the big fat round number of 100. Could you take an outsized bet or an outside bet that says, hey, it might get to 100, but when it gets to 100, I am going to sell? Yes, of course. Would you be moving trend or counter trend to the market? I don't know. It depends. But let's see if it starts running. Let's give it a couple of weeks. Let's give it 14 days. The 100, a lot of people looking at that number, 95 to 100. So if we went 95 to 100, it would be 96 cents, right? Give it a week, 96, 97 cents. Or we could say, yeah, I think 100 would be the place to sit. We could do a butterfly for 49 cents, right? Now, here's the thing about these butterflies on the weeklies. When the price action starts running and you've got a call butterfly, everything moves. The volatility events shift. And so you might be looking at something going, oh my gosh, this is running so great. But your option spread might only be up, 15 cents. You might be thinking, what? But it's because this big fat round number of 100 is running with the 105 and all of that together. Just give it time if it's trending. So what does that mean? Let's take a look at the chart again. What do we want to see? We do not see, and to me, this is technical divergence. Right here, it could hold. It's in a breakout event, absolutely true. But this technical divergence gives me a little bit of pause. So I'm going to draw Fibonacci. And then we're going to talk about where you don't want this to leave. Yeah, at 91. Looks all right. So this one, you really don't want it to lose 81. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, wait a second, it's 88 right now. 81's pretty far away. That's like almost 10%. What's going to happen to my option? Well, it's got 2 weeks to expiration, so it's going to flip-flop around you, most definitely. If it were me, and granted, I'm a little bearish right now. If it were me and I was waiting for this move to the north, I expect a shakeout next week. I would just hang on and see what gives. See how we hold that 81. If it holds well, 95 to 100 is still the target. If it doesn't, we have to take it off the table. It could come all the way back to 68.
Okay. All right. Anne-Marie, really good breakdown there on Hood. Guys, I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of them. Hood was a good breakdown though, Anne-Marie. And when we have you back, so what is it looking like next Friday?
Friday.
Friday. Okay. So we won't have you on Tuesday, but we will have you back on Friday. Anne-Marie, thanks for everything. Enjoy your weekend.
My pleasure. You too.
All right, will do. By the way, I was saying this earlier. Pro tip, when you take a vacation, coming back on a Thursday is way better than a Monday. Keep it under your hat.
Oh, okay.
Way better. It's way
Was
better.
it a psychological thing or?
Well, psychological thing. It's also a very real thing of coming back for 2 days instead of 5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We might be doing this in the
Note
future.
to self.
Note to self. All right, Anne-Marie, you're the best. Take care. We'll see you next week. That is Anne-Marie Baiynd, folks. More really good options trading there, and it doesn't stop yet. It doesn't stop yet because it is time for Sandy. Let's go ahead and bring Sandra on here. Oh, my video's frozen. And Comcast just giving us all types of trouble. Sandra, how you doing? Good morning.
Good. Good morning, Ryan. How was your vacation?
Oh, I could go on for the entire show about how
What
good
did
it
you
was.
end up doing?
I went to Arkansas to see my buddy whose birthday is in May every year. So we hung out there for a little bit, but then we drove to Branson, Missouri, and I got to golf at Big Cedar, and I was on Table Rock Lake on Saturday on a boat. I mean,
it sounds
it was
lovely.
awesome. Then when I came back, I had a couple of extra days, so I played golf with my friends here to let them know that I still care about them.
You can't beat that. And you came back on a Thursday, so you only have a couple days.
That's right. We're actually off here pretty soon. What do you have coming up for us?
We're going to look at some of this tech rally, look at the put call ratio and see if we might have a little pause or a retest of some support here because we're just rocking and rolling in that.
Okay. Sounds good. Options, or I always do this. I'm sorry. Trading Made Simple with Sandy starts right now.
Welcome back, traders. This is Sandra with Trading Made Simple. I'm here to show you short-term proven strategies. People think trading is a one-size-fit-all market. It's not. We live trade and train daily. Let's talk trading.
You guys are having a great day. It is Friday. So taking a look at Market Watch on Thinkorswim, and we can see that information technology is pumping. The rest of the market, not so much, right? Not kind of this equal, when you're looking at just the tech stocks, you can kind of think, wow, we're really doing well today. But actually the rest of the market is just, yeah. So financials got a little pump too, I see. But really information technology taking off, had some really good plays in names like Now. Look at Now. I mean, unbelievable. Coach Paulo had a target at 126. This one is just rocking and rolling. This one was really good. Wanted to take a look at Amazon. This was one that we were looking at. Just doesn't seem to be moving quite as yet. And you'll notice that, the VIX is down at what, 1563. Let's take a look at that. The VIX is way down. Look at this as far as its own technical analysis, right? Underneath the 20 completely looking really bearish, which is real positive for the market. Now, oil has been reducing this last week, but let's take a look at that really quick. It's okay. I have my after hours turned on, but that's okay. You could see that oil was higher yesterday and it's lower today. And whenever you have oil going down, you got the market typically going up. Now, right now, it's a bit one-sided. And I recognize that, NVIDIA had some great news coming out. Um, getting in more involved, right, into the AI. AI has been extremely bullish with the institutions. And so you really have, as well as like inflation fears kind of cooling, but you got it's kind of just one sided right now into tech. So I would be cautious because I was looking at the put call ratio. And if you're not um, really familiar with it, let's see, it's P call under Thinkorswim. It's at 0.48, which means that the market is really bullish right now. And sometimes when you have this either bell curve or this, kind of equilibrium, when you see that it's so one-sided, it can really kind of give you this contrarian view of, wait a minute, we're over exuberant on one side. And as we're over exuberant, the institutions will typically, that's when they get involved and start pulling money. And so I'm curious to see if this can go any lower. When we get to, about one, that's typically where you're starting to see, oh, okay, that's still really bullish as far as like people coming in. But when you see it at 0.48, I mean, that's extreme. That's like an outlier of an indicator. I mean, it's even going lower. So that really tends to show you that there's way heavy calls versus puts. So when it gets into this range, it's almost like a hazard, like a hazard flag is being waved saying, hey, wait a minute here, don't get too excitable because we may have a market correction or at least a pullback to support levels. And so that's what we're looking for right now. That's what I'm looking for next week, right? So typically speaking, when we have an FOMC week, nothing happens. It's just like, it's just real sideways action, real choppy. And then all of a sudden, when the news comes out, which I think was just a report, the minutes of the prior meeting, people start to evaluate what was said during the real meeting, and then they start to have their perception of it and report on that. And so what ended up happening is we had a little boost last Wednesday, the previous Wednesday when FOMC came out. And typically speaking, right after that, you'll see a small trend. These are just patterns in the market that you get familiar with as you're in the market each and every year. And so we saw this kind of play out 2 weeks ago when FOMC. And then we had a holiday weekend right after the FOMC week. Now, typically, if there's a slight trend happening at the end of the week, which is typically Thursday and Friday after FOMC, then you'll see all of a sudden that kind of continue into a holiday week. And that's exactly what we've seen this week. So couple days of choppy, couple days of bullishness. Yesterday was a nothing day, very choppy. And then today, for tech at least, it's bullish. And so this sector is really outperforming right now. And it'll be interesting to see if we continue in this fashion. So you just want to be cognizant of it and not, not take away the fact that we're still in a conflict with Iran. And something could happen there. The fact that the VIX is down and oil's down are one of my two leading indicators, but gold is up, and gold is typically a hedge. Institutions will hoard gold for protection because they're wanting to protect their portfolio. And so when you think about that, just remember that gold is up and yields are up, which is really not technically great for the market. And maybe that's why we're seeing the market so kind of like, one side of it, tech and financial doing well. And then the rest of the market, I mean, you got communication services, consumer discretionary, healthcare. Look at this. Energy, utilities, consumer staples, industrials, all down, right? All red on that side. Typically, when we see a rally, right, it's the entire market together moving in a direction. Here, we really have some lopsidedness. So as you see money start to transfer into certain sectors, just be aware that, that's happening, and it's not an entire market facilitating this rally right now. All right. So let's get into some tickers here and see if we can put on some trades. So looking at MU, MU just has been pumping. I mean, look at this. Let's take a look at it on a day chart here and get rid of some of these drawing sets. And so as I take a look at MU, you could really see MU pumping here. And now we just broke basically its previous high today. So this looks really good for continuation, right? If we can stay above, if we can actually stay above that 947, now that's still like $20 away. If we can break above and hold this resistance level, which is around the 971, we could continue higher for the next following week. I think if we close and hold that 971, this could be a real interesting play for next week. How could we kind of set that in our minds and say, you know what? I just want to set it and forget it. I just want to put on an automated trade through Thinkorswim, and I don't really want to think about it. But as I'm looking at charts, I don't want my research and my investigation to go to waste, right? How many times can you look and examine charts? So here, I'm going to say 971. And this is an expensive stock, right? It certainly has become an expensive stock. I wanted to see really quick. Before we actually got into this, you can kind of see this sideways action right here, breaking out above that 490 area. Wow. And that was April 30th, guys. This is 1 month. 1 month of approximately, 500 range to 967. How could you get into this if you had a smaller account and really couldn't handle a call on this? Let's take a look at that. So let's get rid of this and look at the money calls and kind of check and see, is it worth our while here? So this would be pretty expensive to get into. This is $54.80 times 100, right? You're looking at a lot of money to try to get into an option contract for 1 week. What else could you do? Well, you could set your spread. Instead of a single straight call and put, which is like a race car, you could set it to a vertical. And now what we have is a call debit spread, taking advantage of the same direction, moving a bit slower, but offering you diamond hands because you're able to hold it a lot longer than you would a straight call or a put. And it's $235 for one contract. So if I wanted to set an automated trade here. Oh, we're already at 971, guys. Wow. In the minutes that I was talking, we're already there. Let's take a look at a weekly contract. Oh, wow. Okay. So this thing is just, out of control as far as I'm concerned right now. I'm definitely on, we're responding to it late, right? I almost want to say, wow, if it pulls back, if it pulls back up to here, I wouldn't mind going. That's an interesting strategy too, right, guys? That you could automate is saying, hey, I think, maybe I'm too exuberant here and this has already been pumping. Could I wait for a support level for it to come right back down to support and then get into a call spread on this? Absolutely. In fact, why don't we do that? We rarely do that. So here, the resistance level is back at 947. So let's just say 947. And you're basically saying, hey, look, if this comes down to a reasonable level, I want to get into it. Now, 947 is going to be the at the money at the time. So we're not going to know really what that price is until it happens. But it should be about the same price because we're at the money right now. And so if you can think of it that way, it's easy to strategize. So if we look at the 947, which is around the 940 5 to 950. We're going to take that because that will be the at the money call spread, right? Because we're looking at 947 as our entry. And we're going to get in here into our gear icon. And when we get in here, we're going to say, hey, look, when this stock gets a less than or equal to, and you can always just scroll up and see where it says security is less than or equal to. And now we're going to put MU's price at 947 because that's where we want it to go to get into that call spread. Then I'm interested in getting into this. Now, I don't know if there's going to be a news headline or whatever. So I do want to put a cap on what I pay for this. Okay. So here's a protection for you automators out there. So the first thing you want to do is if we look over at this, now you'll see, unfortunately, you'll see that the price is at 255 to 455. Now, but we're not even close. We're like very in the money. So on something like this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to save this really quick. And I'm going to look at the at the money strike. Okay. And as I click on it and I see what the at the money strike is, I can kind of just click right over here to the midline, which is around 299. And I'm going to say, hey, look, if this was 299 at the time that 947 gets over at the money, what am I willing to pay for this? Knowing that there's wartime volatility going on. And what I have been typically doing for protection is to say 25%, because I recognize that during these types of headlines, if the market ends up spiking volatility, and we won't be at 15 anymore, I could pay up to 100% or 500% if the market makers jack up the prices for these option contracts when the fear gauge goes up. So to protect myself, I'm going to say, okay, if the midline is around 299 plus 25%, that's going to give me 3.73. So now I'm not going to overpay for this contract. So I'm going to come back here. I thought I saved it. Oh, you know what I did is I saved it over here. Then we can come right over here. Oh, boy. Let's see. No. All right. Let me just go back to the 945. 950, go back right into my gear icon, and we're going to put that less than or equal to again. This is going to be 947. And we're going to come up here to the limit price. And what we're saying is we don't want to pay over this. Now, it doesn't mean that when this actually happens that we're actually going to pay the 3.73. No, if it's actually going for 299 or less, it'll get me the best price. So I just want to let you know that, okay? So this is your limit, right? It's like, hey, I don't want to go past this. So my limit price is going to be 3.73. Let's make it 3.74. I'll just round it out to 3.75. And I manually set that in, so that's okay. This is going to be a good till cancel time frame, right? We're going to keep this in and we're going to save it. And so now if you were to read your programming down here, it basically says, hey, look, we're waiting for MU to come back down to 947. Then I want to get into this long debit call spread. And I don't want to pay over 375 because I know what it's going to be about when it's at the money. And then that's it. I'm going to save this and I'm ready to go. Now, we used to be able to just put our stop loss into Thinkorswim on vertical spreads, any spread. But it seems really difficult these days with the new Schwab programming. And so really then I really like to just kind of keep an eye on it because it doesn't move as quickly as a straight collar put. You could just check on it once a day. If it doesn't break, my management style is that if we are if we have a 50% stop, you get into a minus 50%, it's just time to close the trade. I mean, this is just a 1 weeker, right? We're just planning for next week. We could come in here and change the expiration date if we continue to have the same thesis. But as of this week, I'm just saying, hey, look, put call ratio is kind of out of control right now. And I think we might get a pullback. And if we do, and MU comes down to 947, I'm in a long call spread because I still think MU is bullish. All right. So that's my thesis for this. That is how you would set up that order. And then typically for management, take profit, right? I really like getting into maybe like a 35 to 70% profit taking on this. And how would we put an order in? Well, right now you could see this advanced order feature is under single. I'm going to say first triggers a sequel. So once this triggers and is actually activated, and you have a live trade, then the next order will come into play. And so I want to create an opposite order because I have a buy order, but I need a sell order. So this is how you pretty much put that up on your screen. And then you could, instead of coming into the full-on controls, you could do it right from here. So instead of manual here, I could use a trigger. When you hit trigger, the little buttons pop up for Thinkorswim so that you're able to program. So here, if I click it twice, you'll see the percentage sign pop up. And this is pretty easy to say, hey, maybe a 50% take profit on this. MU moves quite aggressively when it does move. As you can see, it moves aggressively. I don't think this is out of control to try to get 50% on a credit spread in 1 week. And so now we have a good till cancel. And so the only thing I'm not programming, because I noticed that in the mornings volatility, especially on Mondays, is the strongest on Mondays, morning volatility, if I had a 50% stop loss, even if this was to gap up and I was in profit, I was in the money, it could trigger my stop, believe it or not. It's happened. That's why I know. Don't make the same mistake. So after that happens a couple times, we just have to make corrections to our automations, right? It's the humans programming the automation. So now that I have that in and I like my game plan here, I'm just going to confirm and send. And you're going to just read this dialog box just to make sure you know what your risks are, right? If I was doing a max risk, which is 100%, which I'm not going to be doing, my entire risk for this strategy is going to be 375. And just remember that as of right now, that pricing is going to be my highest limit price. Okay. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Also because I'm really looking for a 50% stop loss on this, not the whole 375. So it'll be 50% of this if I'm able to manage it properly. And then my max profit is about 125. And just remember that may change when this gets triggered. But the most important part here is really your programming. And you're basically saying, hey, buy call this spread, not more than 375. Do it when it's at or below 947. So as soon as it's actually coming down to the 947, it will get triggered, which is really nice because that's where support's at. All right, so now I'm going to send this in and I have that waiting in the wings. I kind of like that strategy. What's another strategy we could use, right? We saw that while I was actually talking about this strategy, we were interested in getting into a 971 because that's where resistance level is. And you can see how it pierced it and came right back down, which means that if you were holding, right, and you were holding to maybe this next resistance level, it didn't make it, it came down. So really then we want to see, hey, if this breaks again, this will be a couple times that it's broken through and come down. Broken through and then come down. We could say, hey, if it breaks and actually gets to today's high, and it breaks today's high, because isn't that a known strategy for traders? If MU goes higher than today's high, that is a continuation trade for going long. The answer is yes. So on here, I might say, okay, if I hover over this, the high, and I'm looking right over here, guys, if you don't know with Thinkorswim, if I stay on that candle, it will tell me the high, which is 981. So since we've been to 971, tagged it, came down, 971, everybody knows this resistance level. So because of that, I'm saying, okay, I'll take today's high. And if we break 981, and maybe I'll put it at like 981.50, so we don't have any touches and reversals, I'll say 981.50, and then I'm back into another long call spread. So let's go ahead and plan that strategy out while we're doing the homework. Now, because 981 is going to be the at the money time, right? I'm going to be looking for 981 to 985. And again, we recognized, right, that the at the money plus 75 right now, at the money plus 25% is at the 375, but we'll walk it through so you can actually see it. And the more that you see it, you'll memorize it. So as you can see, this is relatively cheap now, but it's not at the money yet. It hasn't hit yet. So if we were to look at our at the money strike, it's around 268. If we put it in the middle, it's at 341. We could say or take that 341 plus 25%. So what would that be? And if we wanted to even be more conservative about this, because there is a wide bid and ask going on, because it's not even, because there's, it's wide right now because the market makers are jacking up the price because it's bullish. So if we said 341 plus 25%, that's 426. Remember, that's a ceiling. It's not what I'm asking to pay for this, okay? So now that we looked at the money and kind of made our evaluation, we're going to go over to our 981 is what we're looking at. So we're going to go over to 980, 985, and we're going to go into our gear icon, and we're going to say greater than or equal to. You can scroll up and read it. And then here we're going to put 981.50. Just to tag it a little higher because we don't want another reversal like that. And then here we're going to say our ceiling for this contract is going to be, what did I say, 426. All right, tab out of there. And so now this will be good till cancel. And so this is a way now that you could say, okay, the high today is 981. If it goes above 981.50, I want to be in a long call spread for next week. Okay. And so here we have it greater than or equal to. We're going to save it. We're going to give ourselves another sequel here. And we're going to add another contract, an opposite contract, because that's a buy. This is a sell. We're going to go over to the gear. No, we don't need to even need the gear. We're going to go over to man right here and put trigger. Trigger gives us the trigger buttons. Put it at a percentage. We're going to put another 50% here. Good till cancel. This all lines up. We'll check it once a day next week. If it gets to a 50% stop loss, we'll get out of it. Okay. And so this one is nice. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the confirmation. And you can see MU at or above 951.50. We could have even did 952 to be honest with you, but it's okay. And then you got MU at or above. Let's see, the condition number 2 is if we hit 50%, then we will be out of this contract with a profit. And then we're going to basically self-manage, right? So you could see that we now have 2 different strategies for MU, all done in I mean, if I was doing this on my own without, going through the steps, it would take me 5 minutes to do. So this is a great way to learn how to automate your trades so you're not sitting in front of your computer all day. And for those of you that are premium sellers, right, this is a great way for you to actually be able to leave the house and not be glued to the screen, because you got to manage those trades, especially if they're, the risk is much larger than the reward. You know what I'm talking about. So as we take a look at this, I feel like this was nice for MU. What was one of the other ones I was taking a look at today? Microsoft and Planner. Planner's been LTR. This one's, yeah, this one's been rocking and rolling. In and out, in and out, in and out, taking profits. I love this. So what a nice consolidation period. And then boom, right? Huge gap up today. Beautiful trade, actually. Again, I'm a little cautious about the put call ratio. Let's take a look at maybe some bearish stocks. Oh, let's take a look at XLE, the energy. Let's take a look at a 4 hour. I typically like to take a look at a 4 hour. 4 hours bearish, right, guys? It's below that 20. Wow. Broke some substantial support and resistance, that triangle pattern right there. And then I like to take a look at a 1 hour, still bearish. Excellent. And then I like to take a look at a 15. And the 15 is still bearish. I actually like this for a put trade. And you could do the same thing on this. Let's take a look and see what the calls and puts are like over here. If we wanted to do 7 days out, oh boy, cheap verticals, pretty cheap calls and puts here as well. And we have enough open interest in some contracts here. So let's just do, oh, you know what? It's 8:30. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry, 8:30 my time, Pacific Standard Time. That's my time to let everybody go. Next time, we will get back into it and do some more programming. If you want to learn more, tradingmadesimple.org, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye, guys.
Sandra, take care. I don't know how Aaron normally does it, so I just wanted to come back on and say goodbye to you and the group. So have a great weekend. Yeah, have a great weekend. Really good stuff. We'll see you next week.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, take care, everybody.